Welcome back to my podcast, Leave It on the Dance Floor. And today I have none other, Satan in the hot chair. That's right. Bryan Stinson, executive producer of Dance Moms, Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, and Abby's Studio Rescue, is here with us today to have a little chat, but we're not letting him off the hook. No way.
Get up, my world is with my girls, living on the dance floor.
Hi, Bryan.
Hi,
How
Abby.
are ya?
Satan, I don't think that's fair. I don't know if that's fair.
Satan.
Is that, is that a term of affection?
Gold.
Oh, comedy gold.
It's comedy gold.
Got it.
When I tell the story of how the show started, because people always want to know my version of how the TV show started, and I start and I explain this gentleman named Bryan Stinson, who I will refer to as Satan for the rest of the talk today. And the kids laugh, and then when I roll back around to your name and I say Satan again, and I give a little Satan, and they love it.
Do you remember how that started, though? Do you remember the first time you ever called me Satan, or why you called me Satan?
No. All I know is that I went to 4 party stores yesterday and could not find any devil ears. And in my house, I probably have at least 3 pair laying right in my area where I film. They're laying right there. I can see them, and I can't get to them.
But don't worry, we'll throw a filter on.
Yeah, try not to move your head around too much.
No.
Okay, go ahead.
I was thinking about that the other day because you love to say that, but I honestly think it was during season 2. Was it season 2 that Maddie forgot her solo? Ran off stage and Frozen.
I don't know if it
came backstage, and you were having a bit of a meltdown.
That was the whole.
The jib
it was
got
in New
too
York.
close.
The jib was swinging around the kids' faces, and because I went back and looked at, and you could see he was close to a lot of kids, not just her.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And it was
too close,
swinging into a lot of kids, and 2 other kids forgot their dances and ran off the stage within the hour before her. It was very weird.
You mean from other teams?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. Other kids that were randomly at the convention or the competition. But that was the Joffrey week.
Yeah.
As well.
Correct.
That same week. And
Correct.
it was a little nuts. Yes.
Yeah. You were very upset, which I understand. Maddie was super upset. And I feel like that was the point you looked at me and screamed Satan.
Okay.
And I think it stuck.
In front of people?
It was in the green room.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
but what was interesting was the way that the edit came out was that it was after, like they put it after Kathy came in. So it looked like you were saying, you are Satan at Kathy.
Oh.
So I'm expecting that was a little flubbed. But
yes.
So
And
that's how it started.
I think also, which we'll have to go over this in a timeline, but when I threw the chair at you, the chair went this way in your direction because you were probably headed out the door or coming in the door or something in Studio A in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the Abby Lee Dance Company. And the child was over here behind me. The chair did not go anywhere near the kid.
Yes, I was standing to your right. You threw it in my direction.
Yes.
You did.
Yes.
I'll admit that.
So the chair was thrown at you.
No, I don't. She wasn't
really
throwing it at me
thrown.
on purpose. She was frustrated. She looked up and there wasn't stoppers.
So the frustration
and
was
she
you.
threw the chair. No, it wasn't to me.
No, I didn't throw it at anybody. I just threw the chair
threw it down.
Get it the hell out of here. I'm done with the chair.
Yeah, just because I feel like everybody just thinks, oh, I'm going to throw this at this child. I
No,
hate this child.
never,
and
never,
that's just
never,
not what
never,
it was.
never,
The
never,
child
never,
wasn't the one that didn't have the stoppers on the chair.
No.
But,
No.
anyway.
No.
So
And
how...
I think that there was a bar and alcohol the night before instead of getting the stoppers on the chair. That was the whole. That's why I was also angry.
You would
you want to do this for your child. I could have had it done. My guy, my Mr. Fix-It guy could have put the stoppers on the chair, no problem. I was giving it as a job for the mother to go do because, at the TV show, they always wanted the mothers involved, making the costumes, doing the hair, doing the makeup, which they sucked at all of it. So, yeah. Okay.
I always believe everything, but I remember in the moment thinking, oh my gosh, is she serious? Like, I feel like it was a big reaction. It was a big overreaction from what I thought at the time, but I believe everything. I believe everything that everyone's feeling. So I never know. And then in the moment, I guess you were really upset.
I was so angry at this mother that didn't want the best for her child. And we all knew Paige. I loved Paige. I had known her since she was born. She was in a, little baby carrier coming into the studio with her older sister, Brooke. And she struggled learning a new routine every week. She absolutely did. So for her to get a solo, have to learn it, and then not have the prop that she was using be correct and be ready to go was detrimental to her.
But I don't think it was Paige's fault. And
It wasn't
you
her
know,
fault.
and-
It wasn't her fault.
and
It was her
also-
mother's fault. That's why I was looking up. And her
And
mother.
Kelly was pretty mad too at you
Yeah.
for your reaction,
Yeah,
to be fair,
so-
obviously.
But you need to get the stoppers on the chair so it's safe. It's a safety issue for the kid. I
Right.
can't have her jump off the chair or do an acrobatic trick off of it and slip and fall. And then whose fault is it? Mine.
Right.
You know, I don't think I've ever thought about it. I didn't even realize that was a safety issue. I didn't even think about that. I thought it was just so it wouldn't move. to
Oh,
ruin the
gosh,
day.
no.
Well, that's why
it's
she
so-
was having the stoppers on the chair. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's
she-
rubber,
it was an
so it sticks
assignment.
on the stage. Yeah,
It was an
a-
assignment the day before, which you gave out a lot of assignments, right? We always would track that. You gave out an assignment.
Yeah.
You know, did the moms do their assignment or not?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so that was a huge issue, which led to a financial burden on everyone, and time and energy, and just,
So how did the two of you meet?
Well, let's start about how the show started, because
Yeah.
people ask me that.
Yeah.
Bryan Stinson, they ask me that all the time. That's the first question.
Yeah.
How did you get a TV show?
You want the real story?
So, well, no, because I like to stick with my story. However, my questions are more specific.
Yeah.
So, how did you first meet John Corella, who also gets an EP credit?
Look, I give a lot of credit to John, you know, and he's a co-creator, you know. There's two Dance Moms creator, and he's one of them.
And the other one is?
Me.
Oh, okay. I had nothing to do with it. Okay,
So
so
of course you were the reason it was a huge success, obviously,
well,
and it was
well,
lightning
we
in a
need that
bottle.
on paper. It's useless just saying it
Hey,
on a podcast.
I have
Okay.
said it. I have posted it. I have said that you, in my opinion,
thank you.
are the greatest reality character of all time.
Oh,
I have
thank
said
you,
that.
thank you, thank
Have
you.
I not
thank
said
you.
that?
We need that on a T-shirt. Okay. Yes.
No, I have
so,
said that.
So tell me
Well, a lot
about
of people
meeting.
I think a lot of people don't know that I have a background of working with kids. I spent 12 years, working
Birthday
for
parties?
Nickelodeon.
Didn't you do a birthday party show? Yes, you did. Yes, you
Birthday
did.
party show.
Didn't you do an over-the-top birthday party show?
No. Oh, I cast a birthday party show. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm talking
So-
about professionally, my first 12 years of just having a job was hosting game shows for
Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're working
So,
Nickelodeon.
One of my first jobs at 21 for 12 years, I traveled the world, hosting live game shows and smashing pies and dumping slime in kids' heads, which is a
Not Disney. Nickelodeon.
Nickelodeon. Yeah, and from there I fell into casting. I got a job on a late night game show and as in the post department, and then someone got fired in the casting department, and they asked me if I wanted a job, and within a year I was heading casting departments, and that lasted for about 10 years. Probably about 7 years to go back. One of my first jobs heading a casting department was casting this little cult hit on Bravo, and it was called Showbiz Moms and Dads. So
Oh.
when that
I
it was an
remember that
awesome
title.
cast. So when that show came out, people would literally look at the credits and see who cast it, and from there I started getting a lot of work as a casting director, which was great for my career. So cut to like 7 years later, I was introduced to John Corella by Stacey Kidder, who worked for me on an NBC show
Now,
called
and this is Stacy, who is John's best friend,
Correct.
and she was working on The
She was
Bachelor and The
working-
Bachelorette.
She was working for me on a show called 3 Wishes for NBC, hosted
Okay.
by Amy Grant, basically.
Oh, okay.
And
And,
I
it's like a
I think she kind of knew my connection with like sort of the stage moms and that whole world, which I've always been obsessed with talented kids and stage moms. So just
And
always
at that
have.
time, there was still Toddlers and Tiaras, like all of
Yeah.
those shows before.
Yeah.
Technically, like the Dance Moms franchise hit because it was on TLC and like other networks too, right?
right.
Yeah.
There was
that
stuff
before?
happening because that's
Right.
the story that Stacy, the best friend, that he took it to her, and she's like, "I'm not interested. I don't like kids, but I know this guy that
Yeah.
does a lot of work with children's stuff in the past and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Let me introduce you to him, and let's see what's going to happen." So that story is correct.
It is correct. And so
Okay.
I met John, and he literally handed me a VHS tape of little kids dancing at dance competitions. I took it. He said, "You need to watch this, and sort of, I think you should look into this world." That was it. I watched it, thought it was super compelling and interesting. I put it on my desk at work, and it sat there for about 2.5, 3 years. And every once in a while, I would look at it and just go, how do you do an entire show about kids dancing for an hour? Like, that's gonna be a hard sell, you know. And occasionally we would get together and talk about the show and the competitions, and then he would tell me a little bit about the world, and obviously a light went off. It's like, look, oh, it's not just about little kids dancing, right? It's about their mothers. So there got to be a point that I decided to, I became very passionate about this project and decided to sit home and just cast the show from my house. And I asked John, I said, just send me leads. Send me leads to dance moms, because that was my original idea. I never thought about the dance teacher. I didn't. I said,
Right.
just
Oh, no, I know that.
send me leads of dance moms across the country, and I'll cast this show.
John Corella was a professional dancer, a professional working dancer.
Yeah.
He did the Grammys, the Emmys, the Oscars, everything, right? Toured around the world. He created this show. Like, he saw my little kids dancing in Vegas. He was working with some kids, dealing with their mothers. He and I kind of bumped into each other again in Las Vegas at a dance competition. And then he just started firing questions at me.
Yeah.
He took this to his friend who was a casting director, and she was like, no, I don't want anything to do with kids. I hate kids, whatever. But I know this guy named Bryan Stinson, Satan, for those of you that know out there, and he does a lot of things with kids. He does all this casting stuff, looking for kids and famous kids and their parents and blah, blah, blah. Why don't you meet him? And then you met.
Yeah.
So you two have the title of
Dance Moms
Co-creator.
Creators. Yeah,
Dance
co-creators.
Moms Creators,
Yeah,
co-creators
so-
of the show. Not me. Over
You're
500
just the
numbers.
reason it was
Nothing.
successful.
Yes. Okay. Well,
Like,
you
we
can
can
say
stick.
that.
We can stick
all
with
right.
that.
So
Yeah. So as
you had
creators,
to create
we
like a format.
Yeah.
People, you don't just turn on cameras. Well, that's Big Brother. You turn on cameras and you put them in a house and you let people go at it. It's not like that at a dance studio. There had to be a beginning, a middle, and an end. There had to be that pyramid that you came up with.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Yeah, we cast the show together. We worked on a format. We knew that every single week that we were going to go to a different dance competition. We were going to do something that no one had ever done before. We were going to show kids dancing new numbers every single week, even though we knew that most kids rehearse a number for 6 months and perform it at every single dance competition.
Yes.
So, we spent a lot of time really talking about the stories and the format and what was going to happen each act of every Dance Moms episode.
Right.
So we came up with all the creative together, and, I give him a lot of credit and grateful for meeting him.
I wish he would have shown up a few times, maybe. I think he came to Abby's Ultimate that one season, and then he couldn't take it anymore with the air conditioning and everything. Yeah, I don't know.
But what
I-
people don't realize is that like a reality show like literally is like a template when you're editing.
Well, you
every
need
week.
a template.
You need a template for
Yeah.
it to be
To-
consistent. So you were the
This is-
one.
You really have to figure out what happens every act, and
Yeah.
Yeah, John had never created a television show. He was a dancer.
So
Right.
so you were the one that basically put the puzzle pieces together of the
Correct.
flow of the show,
Correct.
and then how.
I really relied on John to help me sort of figure out, what makes a dance mom tick.
Jealousy. It's an ugly, ugly, ugly disease, and it makes people tick. I did a watch back of the very first episode, and for YouTube, they want me to talk about the first episode. I spoke for 45 minutes about 8 minutes of the show. The first 8 minutes of season 1 that aired. Melissa says, Abby's going to make my kid a star.
Mhm.
Kid, not
Oh.
kids.
And, wow.
Christy said, Maddie's going to win. And Kelly's eyes go when they learn they have to do a new number every week.
Mm.
Right there was the next 6 seasons of Dance Moms.
Yeah.
Right there in the first 8 minutes of the show. You had it right there.
No one thought we could do it, including you. You're like, no, we can't do that. But you did. You did it. And
Yeah.
did it well.
It wasn't easy.
It was not easy.
It
But
wasn't
that's,
easy.
race against the clock is what really,
Mhm.
made the
is.
show
It is.
different. And
And there was only one competition, one I walked out of because it was just deplorable. the behavior on stage of the MC and not knowing what he was doing and
Yeah.
different numbers and different order and different names and the way he was announcing it. I'm like, this thing is a joke. Not necessarily that it was fixed.
Yeah.
It was just a joke and I don't want to be a part of this. And I walked and all the mothers walked with me.
Yeah.
Then there was another moment that I just want to say we won the Kids' Choice Awards. Not a children's network, not a kids show, won the Kids' Choice Award. Okay, so the
Another
next,
good thing. And that was another.
that was a wonderful
yeah.
thing.
Oh, right.
The next day,
That's my favorite.
yeah, because you used to work for Nickelodeon. It was a big
Yeah.
deal. So the next day, I did not show up at the competition. I refused. And it wasn't like I was out all night partying. I wasn't. It was a competition, and I knew that it was manipulated. I knew the woman would do anything to get her child on the team. She was trying to get her kid on our team and then on Kathy's team. And it was blatant disregard for any honesty whatsoever. It was ridiculous.
I do agree that the competition was a mess, but we also have to remember that they're on TV too. So they're like super nervous,
Mm.
you know,
Well,
and
hire an
things,
MC.
things get, you know, messed up and screwed up, I'm sure. But people always ask, the competition's
they
rigged.
fixed?
They are
No.
100%. I have never gone to a competition director. I have never been to a judge. I have never.
No, but
Rigged a
when you
competition in
stepped
my
out
life.
of the showrunner position, did. And I would see him
Mm.
backstage in the wings like this at the person reading
Well,
the
I hope
awards.
that's not the case because, you know, we would lose all credibility. You know, that would be, I would never risk that.
Well, that's the one
Yeah,
I
I
walked
would
out
never
of.
risk
And that
that.
was the one I didn't show up for. It was a joke.
But, you know, you won a lot.
Yeah. So
We
you
won a lot.
you heard it here. You have the star. You have the one who was in charge of making everything happen. Those competitions were real, people.
They
And
were.
That's just it.
They were.
That's
Yeah.
just it.
So I started making phone calls. This is prior to Zoom, right?
Yeah, I'm
So-
just trying to think, when did it, how in the timeline of this work with you and what you were doing here in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
he was calling me not once a day, not twice a day, like 3 times a day, asking me very specific questions that I thought he should already know the answers to.
Maybe.
Uh, well, who picks the music? Well, then what about the costumes? Well, does anybody get to do a solo? Well, like constant, like every day, 2-3 times a day, he was asking me questions.
I wonder if that could be a little bit later on in the sort of the development process.
Probably, because
Probably,
it
'cause that
seemed
was-
like you were asking him.
Maybe.
He didn't know. So he's
Maybe.
trying to come up with the answers. I'm like, John, you grew up in this world. And he goes, I
Yeah.
know, I wore a black shirt or black pants and a shirt, and I just went out and danced. I don't remember all this drama
Yeah.
being the boy in the group.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I thought, you know, I thought it would be like 6 moms, you know,
Yeah.
in 6 different states with their kid.
I know
and
that
they
was the
would
original idea.
traveling to different dance competitions
And
and,
then
their
they
paths
maybe
would
meet up
cross.
at the
and then
end,
maybe
right.
meet at nationals,
Right.
possibly. So I had a spreadsheet and I would talk to these moms and I would sort of give them grades, how I liked them. And then at the end of like, I think it was about a month and a half of doing that. By the way, I went after the single ladies. Remember them?
I do. I remember them
Yeah, initially.
Yeah,
You know,
because they would be stars now
I think
with millions of dollars in the bank, and they're not.
I think there was too much
Okay.
drama going on within the group at that point. It had made national news.
There were picketers outside their studio. The police had to be called.
Mhm.
The police were there, and their mothers wanted nothing more to do
Yeah.
with anything
Yeah,
like that.
I think,
I
and I think
remember
they were
that.
sort of breaking up at the
Mhm.
point. So, but looking at my spreadsheet, I had spoken to Christy and Kelly and Melissa, and
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 how did
I-
you get their information?
they emailed the information. I talked to them on the phone.
Because it was on my website.
I don't know about that.
It was
I don't
on my
remember.
website
Probably.
first. That's how they would have known about it.
Yeah, I know that
th-
Kathy
you-
says
no, this
that
is
that's how
prior
she
to
heard.
casting. This is prior to any of the casting at your studio. But once I saw, I was like, these are, you know, I really like these moms. I really like the pictures of these kids. And they had sent me some video of the kids dancing.
The
and that's
pictures of the kids came from me.
maybe.
No,
okay.
they did.
A copy. So that's when I called John and I said, I think we can do a whole, you know, show at this one studio in Pittsburgh. These women are great. These kids look amazing. I said, what's the dance teacher like? He said, she's, you know, and I was like, amazing.
Really?
Yes. I said, that is amazing.
See,
And he goes- he
I
said
don't
it-
know any of this story.
He said,
because
he said,
she's not going to be on camera. She would never be on TV.
she did say that. He said, she's
Okay.
never going to do it. I said, really? I said, give me your phone number. And I think I called you, and I think you were driving. You're like, hello.
So I hung up.
Who's this?
How'd you get my number?
Yeah.
So I
So I
hung up.
said, look, we're developing this project. Would you be interested? And you were like, yeah. You know, it was great. And that's how it all started.
Little
It's
did
crazy.
I know. It
Little
would
did you know. And,
destroy
you know,
my business. Little
and you
did
guys
I
had a
know.
flip camera, and I would ask questions, and, you know, Christy would go around with a flip camera and ask the questions that I asked her to ask you guys. She interviewed you. She interviewed the moms.
See, that I remember later, because she always tries to take credit for that.
Oh.
That I remember that later on, I was sitting in the den working on interview skills with the kids,
Yeah.
and her saying, "This guy needs me to get you on camera."
Yeah.
And I was like, get out of my face. Like, what are you doing? And then she had a couple things from you, and I
Yeah.
answered them, and that was it.
Yeah. We didn't
But
have
I
a
was
lot.
not on the show.
We didn't have a lot. But we had a very short interview she did
But
with
tell
you.
tell the world though,
Very, very
I
short.
was
No,
not
in my
on the
head,
show.
No, in my head, I thought it was Dance Moms, and I was more interested in the moms. But we did see that tiny bit of an interview. And if you remember, I never interviewed you,
No,
and I did that on purpose. Because when I saw you,
acts like it was all planned out.
we had because we saw some footage of you teaching in the studio, and you were like so good, and it was so compelling. And the way you talked to the kids and how you hovered over them, you know, it's like something we hadn't seen before. And I was like, I don't even think we need to put her in an interview. Like, she just is so good in reality.
And this wasn't
We
like
don't-
yelling. This was just talking and just
sorta
like her craft.
Yeah, right. So I literally took the flip cam footage that I had gotten for over a period of 3 to 4 weeks, edited that. It was about a 3.5, 4 minute reel from the flip camera footage. I had never met any of you guys, right?
Right?
And it sold from that. The show sold from that.
Would that be the
Footage.
sizzle?
No. So yes, it was the
So-
first sizzle.
We don't want to dwell on it, but
Yeah.
you and John, from my story, you and my memory of hearing this, went door to door for looking for a production company, and you went into, I don't
Yeah.
even want to say the name. We went into this particular production company, and they gave you like $3,000 or whatever to shoot a sizzle.
So no, that's not quite true. But once the show sold, we signed with this production company. We literally owned pictures that we had from you and the girls and the moms and their
I
story.
got an urgent phone call to overnight 12 program books
Yes.
to
So
some meeting
Yes.
or whatever,
So we had your program book,
which are
and the
impressive.
production.
You can make
yes.
anybody look good in a picture. Yes.
They're amazing pictures.
Yes.
You know, can't look away from these pictures in this book. And so that was used to help sell the show along with this little 3.5 minute sizzle just from the flip camera footage.
There you have
So
it.
then-
I help sell the show. There
But
you have it.
no, but then
I'm
so
teasing.
it sold, but then they gave me a little money to go meet you. And that's when we had to shoot a bigger presentation.
And we did the interviews.
So we did the interviews. We went to a competition. You had Maddie compete a tap solo.
And
I did
John
Melissa's.
Michael danced, I believe.
I think he did.
Now, tell the world,
Yeah.
in those interviews, nobody danced. They sat in a chair next to their moms. They were put on camera.
The day,
They were cute. They were
Correct.
beautiful children.
that's
Yes.
correct. But I did see a lot of tape of the kids dancing.
Right.
And I did see them in your class
Right.
that we shot when we shot the
Right.
presentation. Did they do a 5, 6, 7, 8 combo? No.
On the
but
spot.
on the
No.
spot, no. But
No.
we did see
Dancing.
numbers, and we saw dancing, and we
So
saw
And
they
all the
didn't-
sometimes
kids.
they didn't need
numbers
to
took from
audition.
September to
Yeah.
January to create, and then
Yeah.
you saw them in February or whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. Some of
Yeah.
those numbers and some of those children take a long time to get a dance that you saw on tape. I just want
Yeah.
to put that out there.
Yeah,
There was no 5,
absolutely.
6, 7, 8 until season 2 when Kendall came in.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And people flew overnight on one day's notice from Australia to get there.
Right. But I just go back and thinking about, the lightning in a bottle. It's like we just knew, and everybody knew the second they saw the first presentation. And not only was it Abby, not only was it, the moms, but it was like the kids. They all, I've said this a million times, but they all had these perfect faces, these perfect little faces.
Mhm.
And out of this tiny studio,
It wasn't
outside of
that
Pittsburgh,
tiny.
wasn't that tiny, right? In Pittsburgh,
A lot of taxes.
comes all these stars, We're
But
born.
it wasn't like this LA or this New York situation. It was Pittsburgh, like you
Right.
said, like not this, you
Oh,
know.
Okay, but let me say something else.
Yeah.
We were also there because we heard there was a lot of craziness.
Okay.
So
Absolutely.
there was a lot of drama there, and we knew about it, and we were hearing
There's
about
a
it.
lot of drama in a lot of
and,
studios.
and a lot of studios.
Did you hear
So,
that from Christy, or did you hear that from just around?
a
Because I
little
know
bit
that.
of yes from the
Okay.
moms and you know.
Okay. So
You know,
And
when
I-
you talk to one mom and they mention this, and this name, then you
Yeah.
talk to the next mom and they
Yeah.
mention this,
Yeah.
and this name. Then you talk to the third mom who they're all mentioning and it's oh, sweet and nice. It's like, ooh, there's weird here.
And I think you told me that. I mean, I know with the economy, you'd lost some students right at the time, but I think also you said because of a lot of the drama from some of the moms, you had lost some students.
Yes.
So I mean, that's serious drama.
a lot was going on.
And
you're
there's
losing
a lot of
customers.
story there.
Yeah.
And when you sit the moms down and you hear their stories and you hear about the history with the cast and the history with you, I mean that is the gold in the show too. Really is. When you throw a bunch of people into a TV show that don't know each other, it's not that compelling, and people can smell that it's fake. And so I think right off the bat, from day one, you have instant story and great story,
Real story.
real story.
Yes. Not manufactured.
Not manufactured. And so there's a million reasons why the show was such a huge success. But that's a big one, right? It's a big one.
So when you first showed up in Pittsburgh, I think my recollection, you had 30 people to interview. 27 were from my studio. 2 were friends of mine who had little boys that I thought should have moved to LA and put their boys in show business. I thought they were hilarious. And then the 30th one was Kathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember her calling me saying, "Are you really doing a TV show?" And I'm saying, "Well, they're using my studio to do a TV show. I don't have anything to do with it." And her saying, "Well, I'm coming down." And I thought, "Oh, well, who are you bringing?" Because I thought it was one of her students and their mothers, not her.
Oh,
And she said, "Well, I'm coming with Vivienne." And I went, and she was the first person you cast.
I mean, I don't know if you can say
Technically,
that, but
she
I
was
mean,
in the
it was the best interview that I've ever done or seen in my career. I mean, I mean, you can imagine it was gold. And I think we were all interested in that story of someone who wants to come to your studio that's new, you
And
know,
that also owns their own studio.
which
That
is
is a dance
and
teacher.
just her
which is-
persona, her hair, her outfits, her just demeanor, and everything was just.
but still, Abby, it was real. Like
Yeah.
she wanted to come to you. She was
Well,
giving.
she did come to me with
she
older
gave
kids and
you-
other kids.
Right. So but she really wanted
Yeah, they were
Vivi to thrive
colleagues.
and
Yeah.
Abby to have her. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
was not put on. That was not just for the TV show. That was real.
Oh.
And then she was, obviously we knew it was going to be difficult for her to travel that far
Yeah,
all the
right.
time. And she didn't want to stay in Kathy's a little difficult. I don't know if you know. Someone asked
We
me the
love
other day
Kathy.
who's, the
Love
most
you, Kathy.
difficult. Yeah, we do love Kathy, but, Kathy scared me way more than Abby ever
Oh.
scared me, you know?
Because she didn't want to travel. She doesn't fly.
Yeah.
She doesn't, it's like difficult. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So she was like the most compelling interview out of that original cast.
Oh, out of anything in his whole life, he said.
So the two of
best interview that
Yes.
I've ever personally done. I mean, you're like, holy shit, is anybody going to believe?
Yeah.
Can I say shit? Sorry.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to believe that this person is real? And so the whole time I'm interviewing her, I'm like in shock because I was like, is this real?
Or is
Or
a
is
shtick.
she putting on for me? And normally I can tell, like I can read that stuff pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started thinking, no one's going to believe me. Like no one's going to believe this is
character,
real.
because it's a character. It's put on.
So on purpose, I made her think that I was ending the interview and said, okay, great, we're done. Thank you. And she got up and she moved to her left and I just took the camera and just moved it, So we still followed her where she thought she was off camera. And she was
It
the
was
same
real.
person that she was sitting in that chair interviewing. And was like, holy moly. And so after this, like I remember getting phone calls after this, spending 3 days with you guys. And I got a call from the production company and the network was like, so what do you think? Is there a show there? And I was like,
There's 10 shows.
you guys you can't even imagine. You can't even imagine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
So let's talk about you a little bit. You want
No,
to talk about
no,
you a little bit
no.
more?
I want
Oh,
to talk about when you came in to my studio,
Yeah.
and this is some of this we have to talk about this, Brian.
Okay.
You walk in, you bring guys, you bring cameras, you come in, you park your chair. I remember it was a Friday night, or Friday after school, whatever. You come in. Is often a television show from a network. Do you come into someone's place of business and there's no rent, there's no fee, location fee, there's no utilities, there's nothing in writing, no insurance that you have in case you break anything or anything? Is that the way most TV shows start?
No.
Because that's how it was. And I was just kind of like, nice guy. Let him use the studio. Let's see what happens
Oh,
with this.
I see what you're saying. You mean for the initial interviews?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's different. I mean,
Like
you know,
just
until the
showed up, and
yeah.
I was like,
Well, to be fair, that was just me and one other guy and a cameraman. So it was just us three. So it was
Okay.
really a small footprint. But yeah, that would never happen if it was a series. So that was just an audition,
thing.
weekend.
And I was
So-
just letting them use the studio.
And we're still,
It was,
yeah, you were
I was
good
just-
faith. You did it
yeah,
all out of
yeah.
good faith.
Yes.
But I mean, obviously you were covered insurance wise, but the
My insurance.
production company, it still covers you for that.
Okay.
for that
See,
period.
I
If
didn't.
anything
There's
would've
like
happened.
nothing in writing though.
Yeah.
And then it just, from that day, I feel like it just went whoosh. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of the cast members and the kids, it was toxic. I had to block it out. I don't feel that way. And I didn't have to block it out at all. I just can't remember because it was so much.
Yeah.
It was so much. And to my calculations, it went from that Friday afternoon to, I think you guys were like 3 hours behind schedule or something with
Yeah.
people's
Yeah.
interviews. And going from that to 13 episodes of Dance Moms, a clip show, a reunion, 13 more episodes, a clip show, a reunion, flying to LA, doing Abby's Ultimate, 13 episodes. I was on TV 43 weeks out of the year, and there's only 52 weeks in the year.
It blew up. I mean, I hear a lot of you guys talk about that the show was only supposed to be a 6-episode documentary, which isn't quite true.
I never heard that.
Because everybody,
I just
like all
heard-
the cast
I mean-
I
talked
just
about
heard it was a
that.
docu-series.
It's
That's what it was called.
So right. So initially, it's like any other docu-series unscripted show. It got a 6-episode order, and of course, you hope for a second season. But yes, so that was out there. But a lot of people think it was just supposed to be a 6 episode documentary.
No, but I think I knew it was a docu-series, but I personally thought after these 6 first things, then we're going to all sit down and figure out how this is going to work out. No, we're not going to do that, Abby. We're just going to keep coming in here every day and destroying your business, which you didn't intend to do. No one intended to
It's
do that.
very invasive. Any docu-series that's about a business, it's incredibly invasive.
I'm glad
It
to hear you
is.
say that because it was.
It is.
And-
And it happened so fast. And so we did the first 6. They started seeing footage from the first 6. And immediately, I think I was home for 3 weeks after the first 6 when they said, let's go. We got to do 6 more. And if you remember, we were up against national season, right? So
Well,
we
I
had to-
remember Chloe was our petite miss or junior miss or something of Pennsylvania and had to go to Orlando to fulfill her duties for the organization.
Yep.
And we went there, and I remember you and I going in saying,
Yes.
we could film this. We could put all of this on television. I think John Michael was in something, and he was Mr. Dance of Pennsylvania or whatever, like, let's do this. And they were like, no. That was the dumbest mistake they ever made,
Yeah.
was not putting that organization on television all over the world,
Yeah.
because it would have grown and grown and grown.
Well, like we've heard from the dance competitions that have been super loyal to us over, those 8 seasons, their competition registration doubled.
Oh. I think Intensity
So
had one day for 3
they-
hours, and now he has 3 days in
Yeah.
2 rooms.
Which, by the way, that makes me so happy. Like, that's incredible.
Well, the
I think
best
that's
thing,
great.
Abby at every event always asks, how many of you started dancing because of Dance Moms?
Yes.
And, the competitions also thrived, but just the fact that
That's the only thing that gives me the peace that I did the show.
Mhm.
That's like the one thing when I ask kids, when I'm teaching a room full of 500 students, and I say, who started to dance because they watched the show Dance Moms? And these hands shoot up, and I'm like, I did the right thing then. Then it was a good
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. There were some not so good things, which we'll get into. But so you come in to the studio, and now, boom, you're there. So now I have
Yeah.
27 senior company members in a small room and 7 little kids in a big giant room.
Yeah.
And my time is torn
Yeah.
between them. And I have men, big grown men, at the front door holding it shut, and little 8-year-old kids trying to pull the door open outside. I don't even know if you were aware of that. That, you know, they come from school and they're rushing to get there and they're eating in the car and they get there and then they can't get in because we're filming in the lobby. So
Yeah.
a lot of that stuff is what destroyed my business, or started to, because of the chaos. Had we made every kid be homeschooled, right? From after those 6 original episodes that the mothers assume there were only 6, there were only 6, there were only 6. If on that 7th day, hey, you have to be homeschooled. We're here from 8 in the morning till 4, and that's it. We're done.
Yeah.
That would have changed my life for the better. I don't know if I'd have been there at 8, but I would have probably been late. But if everybody would have been out by 4 o'clock when my business started, it would have been better.
Yeah, I mean, my gosh, it was such a whirlwind, and we were just all trying to figure it out because it was happening so fast.
Well, the turnaround was like unreal, right?
But
Like,
even the second 6 episodes, do you remember we got in a bus and we lived on the road for 6 weeks, and we just went from competition to competition.
No,
It wasn't,
see, I don't remember that.
what? You
I
don't
don't remember that.
So
So
normally,
I blocked it out. I was just busy.
well, a normal week we would do pyramid on a Wednesday. We compete on a Saturday. For the back 6, we had no choice but to go to national competitions, 6 of them back to back, to get in
Oh.
12 episodes. And we literally would arrive at a city, do pyramid the first day, and have to compete the next day. And then the next 3 days, we would have to fill in the time of the acts.
Oh, pretend it.
We would have to
Backtrack
go
it.
back and insert
oh,
different moments
in the beginning.
before the competition and the results.
Wow.
You don't remember that, huh?
I don't-
So Abby says though that the first episode, the pilot, was actually the 3rd one that you guys shot. Was that correct?
No.
Yeah, with Sinister
As-
Minister.
As far as maybe that scene was inputted in after.
That just happened in the 3rd episode. Just
Oh, okay. So
Minister Dom.
But before
did
that,
happen.
I
Yeah.
was just an on-camera choreographer.
Well,
Spit it out.
I think it was week
3.
3.
That she came in the room and I called 911.
It was like week 2 or 3. I think I made a phone call. And,
You sent
and I
her
said,
in?
No. Absolutely
don't
not.
you think you'd be taking credit
No,
for that?
I would want. That was so brilliant.
Yeah, you would be taking credit if you were the one that threw.
I threw the
would
kid out because she
100%.
looked like a ragamuffin and her hair was down and she had socks on. I threw
Yeah.
her out. She called her mother and said, Abby said I was whatever. And then the mother came storming in. Right. So I tell
Correct.
that story correct. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had
No, I didn't give you credit for
clue.
that.
Yeah, I had no clue this was happening.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm literally the whole time this is happening going, I can't believe this is happening. I'm on the floor. I don't remember. I'm on the floor the whole
In the
time,
den,
following
when
you
she's-
around. I'm literally crawling on my knees.
You were the fly on the
floor.
wall. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the only thing I did do that I take a little credit for is I looked at you and said, get the phone, call someone. You know,
Okay.
when you walked into C, I think, or B.
Yeah, I
B.
grabbed a kid's phone.
Yeah.
That kid, Emily Barkhart, it was her phone. I'm
Yeah.
giving you a shout out, Emily. She is the casting director for Royal Caribbean now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and she's a Tampa Bay cheerleader, Buccaneer or something
Yeah.
right now. And so I grabbed her phone, a flip phone, I opened
Yeah.
it, and I called 911.
I've
Yeah.
read some people say they felt like that was staged, and I was like, no, that was like,
I mean, how could
this
you
kid
stage
had the
that?
phone.
Yeah.
the phone was there. But no, that was not set up. I mean, I think, look,
Well, I
she
think
was-
when
I think she
when
was-
the dispatcher from the police station answered the phone and said, the Officer Broadway,
I mean, you're like,
Like what? Like you can't make that up.
like, this is insane.
but the favorite part of that whole moment was, you know, when Abby was done and she reaches over in the cake and does this and eats the cake. Do you remember that?
No, where was
The
the
little
cake?
button on the end of it. There was a big cake for some reason at your reception.
Oh,
And
somebody's
after the
birthday or
police,
something?
yeah, and we did a little interview, and you look at the cake, and you look at me, and you're like, I was like, that's so genius.
Well, where is that?
Where
we didn't
is that?
see
It's
It's
that.
in the episode.
No,
I
it's
don't think
not.
that's in
It's
the episode.
100% in the episode.
Okay, we'll
Go
find
back and
out.
look.
I'll have to
Let's
rewatch
find
that.
that.
I don't
That's
remember
gonna
that.
get that to go viral.
So
Yeah.
that
So it was about episode 2 or 3 that you were, I mean, you were really dominating a lot.
and then
of
you
what
guys
was
threw that
happening,
in.
and I remember making a couple of calls and saying this isn't just dance moms, it's dance teacher.
So that
That's when my life should have changed right then and there.
Well,
That's
it
when-
did.
That's when I should have been sitting
Your
in an
life did
attorney's
change.
office in LA and go, wait a minute.
So would you say that 911 call like solidified that pilot? Like to like where like it added that drama that it not that it needed more,
I
but
think
like because you put it in the first episode.
I think that whole moment of you being chased around the studio
den.
and the way you handle it, so there's, I always say for magic to happen, there has to be every bit of all sorts of different emotion, and you have to have humor and emotion and drama, and that moment, of you being chased had all of that. It had
was
the
just
drama,
great.
it had the humor,
But
it's
it's my
And she looked
building, my
ridiculous.
name on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like just
My building,
everything
my name.
was chef's kiss.
but and I felt like they did a really good job putting that together, that whole thing together, in post. But yeah, it was a brilliant moment that you handled brilliantly, but it was real.
There's
I mean,
a compliment in there.
that stuff was
There's a
that was
compliment.
real. I mean, I do remember someone saying that Minister Dawn is here and she's furious, and she wants to see Abby, and I was like, oh, okay,
because
well,
she wasn't part of the cast, right? Like she was just somebody.
She
who,
interviewed
like,
for it.
Did she interview for it?
Yep.
yeah.
Okay,
They all
that's,
did.
That's good to know because I don't think that the fans really know that. Like, so she interviewed for it. At that point, had you cast it? Like, had you made your
Yes.
cast?
Oh yeah, we're in episode 3.
Okay, so she basically she was mad at her, but do you think that part of her was like, oh well, they're shooting, I'm just gonna go? Yeah, that's interesting. That's something.
Oh, yeah.
But so now Reagan was
But
just
what
in
it
a
goes
normal
back
class.
to is, would you send your child to the dance studio looking like that when you knew there were cameras there?
But were you really mad so you were really mad you weren't just trying to push Minister Dawn's buttons, were you?
Oh, no,
Because
no,
she
no,
wasn't
no.
even the TV cast.
No.
So this
no,
was
no,
we
no.
weren't even this was
What-
something we
no,
were really
This is just
covering.
a real class
No,
that you were
this is
probably
what,
doing
no,
B-roll.
it wasn't a real class. No, this is what would happen is I was fed up after 3 weeks of teaching routines that I wasn't getting paid for and that we were never using. This was ridiculous. So I was teaching an acrobatic routine, and I took 3 other little kids that should have been in the group. I'm not saying they were good. They just should have been in that acro dance.
Okay.
So I said, I'm going to use this for my recital and just teach the acro band. So these 3 kids stand behind the cameras and learn it. I don't even know if you knew that was going on.
No.
So I had Reagan, which is Minister Dawn's daughter, and 2 other little girls behind the camera to learn the choreography behind the cameraman and in the back of A. So she comes in with socks on, her hair's down, a t-shirt on. I'm like, what are you doing? Get out of here and come back when you look like a dancer.
Yeah,
That was it.
'cause you thought she was genuinely going to come back and just rehearsal was going to
Like have her hair up and have her socks off and have her t-shirt off.
And then
Yeah.
the rest is history.
And then it
The
blew up.
rest- Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then Officer Broadway answered the phone.
I mean,
It was like
can't write it.
the-
You can't
the-
write this.
the heavens parted and the angels were singing, and I was like, then he ended up bringing his kid to the dance studio, and she was there for years. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
so you actually met Officer Broadway?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't know
Yes.
you actually met
No,
him.
the police were there quite often. Like they would circle around the area because they knew a show was being
we
filmed
should,
there.
we should try to find him. Officer Broadway, if you're out there,
yes.
reach out to us. 'Cause
Yes,
that would be
Officer
funny.
Broadway.
Recreate your call.
We had another police officer, the chief of police, actually of Penn Hills, whose daughter had danced for me for years
Oh.
and graduated and everything. We had him come on the show once. I don't think we used it, but he
That
came
was
on.
season 8, right? Was that season 8 that he
I
came on and
I didn't block it out. I just can't remember. Chemo,
I think he was talking about mass shootings or something.
Yes,
He came
yes.
on and gave a speech to the kids about that.
where to go and how to
Yeah.
cover in the room.
Yeah.
And that was a beautiful part of what you guys did. Just the messages behind a lot of your dances.
So
you know,
good.
That was
like,
all me.
Yeah.
You educated a lot.
That
of
was
people.
me.
You educated young kids. Me as a fan at the time, especially the Gone Too Soon number of like all the people who left this world too soon.
Yes.
Like a lot. Like Selena. Like people that may not have watched the movie. Just you really educated, and there was more. Like it was beautiful, and the creativity was always there. But like there was messages behind it.
Well, thank you. I
know?
try to push the envelope sometimes with the routines. I like the creativity. I like coming up with the costume, not at the last minute and not in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania when I can't buy anything anywhere. But the midnight at Walmart rhinestoning at 3 a.m. had to
Oh.
stop. But
I do have
I
to
do
say, though,
enjoy that. What?
Abby did think that she was going to do the same routines every week.
Oh, okay.
I was like, Abby, no, you can't. You have to do different numbers every week. She's like, why? We at dance competitions, that's what we do. We do the same routines. I was like, but you're on TV. Like people aren't gonna
Yeah,
So
but
watch the next
why.
week
let's
unless it's
refer back to 5, 6, 7, 8. You never auditioned anybody. They sat in a chair next to their mothers.
But look how well they did.
Okay,
They did a
so-
great job.
Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
Take us back to 2011. And you have an open audition in LA. And instead, they're going to buy a show. It's called Dance Moms. And you're going to audition kids in Los Angeles. They're going to fly in from wherever. And that's how you're going to cast the show instead. We get a notice, dance teachers get a notice, or we see it on social media, although that wasn't really a thing. Let's say you get a call to their studios or it's in the mail or something. There's a flyer. Come and audition. And I go into my studio and I say, okay, they're having auditions for kids and moms, and this is the ages they're looking for. And you have to be in LA and next week at da-da-da-da. Do you think that you would know any of those kids' names? Honestly.
Do you understand what she's asking?
She's asking you
She lost me.
if you did your auditions not in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania,
At my studio.
if you did them in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
and you contacted those original kids that you had in mind, along with whoever
Yeah.
else, do you think all of them would have jumped on a plane at that very moment and gone to LA to see if it would work out?
You mean your kids, would they have come to LA? Well, I mean, I can't answer that question, but it seemed like you had those kids going to, which is what I loved about you. You had those kids going to New York and auditioning for Broadway.
My
and then
students.
That's what I mean.
Not particularly those kids.
What kids are we talking about?
The kids who were in the cast, the kids that are millionaires now.
But those are your kids.
They are my kids, but what I'm saying is those weren't the kids that were jumping in the car and driving to.
Well, Maddie was. I mean,
She went one time to a Billy Elliot audition.
Well, she said a few times. The weekend I was there, you sent Kelly and Christy to New York for some audition. I think it was to try to keep them from auditioning for me.
Yes, it was.
Oh,
But, well, no, because
So-
I can answer this question for the world.
Okay, please.
Absolutely not. You wouldn't know their names.
You mean they wouldn't go to LA to do it?
Hell no.
But let me
Because
just.
one couldn't afford it. One wasn't allowed to miss a day of school, a minute of school. One would say her kids were not prepared. One would have gotten the memo, the email at work, at school 5 days after she missed the audition. And the other one, was looking for husband number 3. She was
But
busy.
you do have to admit there was something about every single one of those kids that was magical, that worked for
oh,
this TV show.
yeah. And then
And let me tell you why.
And the 14 other kids that were in their class that quit also were magical. I shouldn't laugh.
wouldn't
That's
know.
sad.
No, I mean, I think everyone can take credit for that. I mean, the moms, you. I mean, it's a
I
little
just,
bit of everyone.
now the way things are now, and living in Los Angeles and having a studio and seeing the kids that fly in and do this and do that and get solo choreography at our school and blah, blah, blah. Those kids would never have done that.
But look, also since then I auditioned tons of dance teachers. I've auditioned tons of kids, from studios that had 500-600, kids
Thousands.
at the studio.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I could not find the kids at these studios that you had at your studio.
Well, thank you.
It just doesn't
And,
exist
and
at
I've
every
said
studio.
this before. I don't know if I said it to you, but I personally think that you could have done this show. We could have done this show at my studio 15 years before, 10 years before,
Mhm.
5 years before. Because when you think about Gianna and her group,
Yeah.
and their mothers,
Yeah.
they'd have been in a fist fight in the parking lot. And then before that, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I always had that because I had really good kids. And when you get to that level that you're really good,
Mom's great.
they go crazy.
They go crazy.
And
And you're,
Mom's
you're pretty good at pushing buttons too,
And
by the
I
way,
can push
Abby.
the
You're a little
buttons.
crazy yourself. So,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So
I can
think
make a
that's
kid
probably...
cry in 30 seconds or less.
And me too.
Yes.
Did Abby ever tell you that, we spent a lot of time together when she was in the hospital?
oh, I know. We're gonna get to that. Yeah.
Oh, we are.
Yeah, yeah,
Should
yeah.
we talk about that now? But
No, I
we
mean,
don't have to.
well, we can, yeah, because you two have
Um,
it's not just a typical work relationship.
well,
Well, I'm
Like,
trying to get I'm so sorry for ruining your business in Pittsburgh. Just from a standpoint of the utility bills, the men in the boots and coming in on the dance floors with cinders and salt and gravel, and the parking lot and the roof was never the same after Andy and them went up there and blocked out those windows upstairs. Like the physical wear and tear. And I know, but the network will pay for it. Oh, but the network, well, no, because you have to fight with them for a year to get a check to pay for it. And then the damage that was done has gotten worse and worse and worse. And those things. And I don't think you personally intended to do any of it, but did anyone know it was happening? Did anyone care?
I do think there was a lot of moments that weren't thoughtful, you know? And I think people were so obsessed about just doing their job and doing it well that they, just felt like it was a TV set at one point, and that they owned it, right? So, I mean, yes, we had a lot of talks about that. We had to get to a point where we were wearing the booties, or we had to be more respectful of your flooring, or be more respectful of your other students, which we understand.
Like picking up bags, their dance bags of their shoes and their coats, and just moving them out of the way to do something. And then they run in to get their tap shoes and they can't find their bags.
We're also there during winter, and we're like tracking in
snow and slush
and mud and slush, and it's a big crew.
And like Abby said, like had the kids been homeschooled from the start, you guys would have been done filming by 4 or by 5, and then your normal classes would have started. It would have. So
when did we start doing that?
It wasn't until Maddie got the Sia video, and I threatened to quit unless she let her go, and nobody wanted to let her go. And I said, I'm quitting. I'm not filming if you don't let this kid go. And then I think she was going to fail school because she missed too many days. So all of a sudden, woo, homeschool's a good thing now. Now we're going to be homeschooled. And because if she went back, she would have to repeat 5th grade or whatever because I'm missing too many, not so many whole days, but like periods throughout the day.
Yeah.
You miss more than 30 in Pittsburgh and you're done.
All the child labor laws changed a lot from the time we started until the time we finished. So, and then you had to have set teachers, and then you had to homeschool them, right? While they were working. So obviously it worked out way better that we could shoot during the day and you could have your classes when kids got out of school at 4.
Right. And then the kids, if they would get out of school to do their interviews, then they could be at the studio in time for class. But if they weren't allowed to miss school and they ended up doing their interview at 6, 7 o'clock at night, they missed their classes at the studio. Yeah. And then that became an issue amongst the kids because we would, I'm putting it out there, we would work on some of the choreography in the regular dance classes so that 32 counts or 64 counts in the middle of the dance, we did in a jazz class or a contemporary class with everybody, with all the kids that were there. So they knew it. And then we could pop it in on Wednesday after Pyramid or Thursday. Okay, that section we did Monday night?
Yeah.
Well, if so-and-so wasn't there Monday night because they had a meet and greet Sunday and they got back late, or if they were in their interview on Tuesday, they didn't get to class on Tuesday, then it became the kids kind of, well, you should have been here. Well, why weren't you here? Well, where do I stand? Well, I don't know. Well,
Yeah.
And that was not good.
I think there were a lot of sacrifices,
it
that
just
everyone had
so
to
fast.
make, and I think,
I
there
just
was
think-
a lot of payoff,
but
from
there
these
wasn't
sacrifices.
a business plan coming in after those first 6 episodes. If there would have been a board meeting and we sat down and we said, look, these are how many hours we have to shoot. This is when we need to be in the studio and out of the studio. These are my classes. This is what rooms they're in. We need to collectively work together so that I don't have to sacrifice my livelihood. And then I have your former coworker telling me, this isn't your livelihood. You're on television now. That's your livelihood. Forget this dance studio crap. You're not a dance teacher anymore. You're a personality. And that wasn't true. None of that was true. And I needed to keep that for times like now.
Right. Which is important.
And I wish I had
think a lot of
500
people
kids in Pittsburgh right now.
I think a lot of people probably forgot about your real world and how important that was to you. Because honestly, end of the day, the TV show was secondary to the entire cast, to the real world, and the dance competitions. And, we couldn't go to a certain competition that you normally go and you snuck out the back door, and went anyway, where we had to shut down production. Because that was a competition that you go to every year. We just couldn't get access to it.
No.
They were like, sorry, Abby, but we have to shoot the TV show and we have to go to this other competition, And that's when I realized, I was like, oh, yeah,
It's more than just this.
yeah, this is their world. And by the way,
and I'm a
this is
member
why
of
they're-
these organizations
yes,
that
but this
was
is why
so
they're so
important to
good.
me.
This is why the cast is so good, because it's so real to them.
It was real. It was my world
Yeah.
and I was no young spring chicken. I mean, I'm 45 years old. I had done these things since I was 15, 30 years. I'd invested in creating a name for myself at these competitions, winning them. And we're going back. And now all of a sudden there's this chaos and I'm shooting a TV show and I'm just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
just stop.
And you were getting in trouble by dance masters, which was really hard for you, and you're really upset about that.
And my mother.
Your mom was really upset about that. Who I love your mother, by the way.
Very, very
I think she liked
devastating.
me too,
No, she didn't.
more than
Devastating.
you.
No.
Yeah, and remember we went to the dance masters meeting. I went with you in Orlando.
And they're like,
Ridiculous, but
it,
that
they
was
were
all. That was rough for you. That was
very
incredibly
trying.
upsetting. To
Yeah,
you.
because
and we were like, "Oh, come on, Abby, get over it. You have a TV show." But it was hurtful.
I don't think you realized
Yeah.
what
It was your
all
life.
that means to you, and it's your life.
Mhm.
And I didn't have a husband. I didn't have kids. I
Mhm.
wasn't playing Kathy where, oh, I can't come. I can't do this, blah, blah, blah. It was like I'm 100% invested in my dance studio, in these children's lives. And then it just
Yeah.
went crazy a
Yeah.
little bit crazy.
When was the moment that the two of you, like, obviously you knew that you had a hit on your hands from the very early on. But I want to know when it
I didn't
felt
know.
real for you guys. When did it feel real?
For
I
me,
got a
I was
funny
so
story.
swamped and so busy. I felt like I didn't know what a success it was because we were just kept making show after show after show until I showed up one competition when there were like, 600 fans swamped, outside the dressing room, and I was like, oh, wow.
Okay, so
now it's big.
my account, we were in Las Vegas in some dive bar, and Gianna and I were sitting next to each other at the bar, like the counter, eating, and it was on the TV. This was our big premiere. Thank you, network. The big premiere
Yes,
party.
I remember.
And we're sitting. Is that the same memory you have? And
Yeah.
we're watching it.
Yeah.
And I'm staring at the screen, and Gianna's next to me, and I like grab her leg, and I'm like, I watch the dancing. Forget about all the rest of it. I never. The moms, the talking, that I didn't care. I didn't even look at it. I could care less. I look at the dancing and I turn to her and I go, nobody is going to watch this shit. That's exactly quote. That's what I said. It was so bad, the editing of the dancing, and they had to use different music in post. And I think, nobody told me that was ever going to happen until I'm watching them do, put your back against the wall was the lyric. So they run up stage and they do this and they do a big back thing. But when they're doing that, the music's going turn round and round. And I'm like, they're not turning. Like, what is this? Who did this? Then I started to go ballistic on the editors. And I'm like, does anyone dance? Has anyone ever taken a dance lesson in their life in this office? No.
I have to say that was a huge concern of mine, and it really bothered me because, I appreciate dancers. I want to see every single move, and you can't cut away during a turn or a jump or a leap. You need to see the whole thing. It needs to be head to toe.
I will say,
you can't
season
cut this
8,
up.
by season 8,
We killed it.
you did well in
Even
season 8.
starting
with
around season 4, but because I did really fight for it.
more.
But
Yeah.
I have to say, it worked. It worked season 1 because
Well, it
was-
worked because it
you
was a
guys are so
reality
good.
show. Nobody was judging
was
it
a-
against, like, you weren't putting it side by side with Dancing with the Stars
Correct.
or
It
So
was
You
a
Think You Can
docuseries,
Dance.
True docuseries.
Right. It was a bunch of little kids and their screaming mothers and a crazy
But-
teacher.
So
But
we really
the dancing
fought.
was my concern.
But we really fought hard to start showing the entire dance, and
Yeah.
not cutting away so much. And then we started getting the choreographer cuts, which
Yes,
were amazing.
those-
So we saw the whole dance.
Yeah. Notice there's
So-
no Emmy sitting behind me.
Well, actually, that's a good segue. I was always curious, and I know Abby is, why nothing was ever nominated for an Emmy.
We
Did you try?
every year.
Every year you tried.
Mhm.
And what was the reason? Reality,
We just never got a nomination.
they just
For choreography.
Yeah.
No.
specifically for choreography or
No.
specifically for like television? Like were you nominating them for choreography Emmys or
Yeah.
just
Specific
You were.
routines.
Yeah.
Okay.
The routines for
That's
choreography.
crazy
I've been told
to
no.
me.
Yeah, we entered every season.
I've been told no.
That's good to know.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
would
a
even.
little
You don't remember me asking asking you about it on occasion? Like, what do you think? What number should we submit?
Later, years later, not recent. And
The only time, and I think it's of mine, was
that you maybe can't say.
and it really was a mistake of mine for not following up, was Lily. She could have won one for Straight Jacket.
Yeah,
no doubt she would have
won an
won.
Emmy. And also,
And we just didn't submit it.
And we would have won an Emmy for that because I judged it that year.
Oh.
I would have had
Well, we didn't
no.
rig
I
it.
would have recused myself from judging that category. However, I watched what everybody else submitted and judged it, so I know what was up against it.
No doubt it would have been nominated.
And also the Spider number, because it won the whole thing and it was never aired. So at that point, I learned that I could, by myself, somehow, some way, enter it. And I needed to get it from the network, though, to give it to me to enter it and submit it and all this and nonsense, which they probably wouldn't have done anyway. But it had to air, and it never aired. So that was the problem, because it's all with timing. It has to air between such and such a date and such a date. It has to be so long. It has to be this. It has to be that. Da 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 da. It's very particular, the rules that are involved, and it kills me.
Not only the numbers, but we submitted for the shows too.
And they just never
never got a nomination.
Well,
we were very controversial. Our show was very polarizing.
Yes.
It was definitely a
really,
transitional.
That's why I don't
time.
have 50,000 brand deals, because I'm not doing laundry and putting lotion on and this and that. I'm controversial. So.
Yeah, it was definitely a transitional time. You know, I feel like just obviously things were different in 2011, and just, you know, you really shaped, like you always say that the kids, what was it, moved the economy.
I was told that at a cocktail party here in Los Angeles by a very affluent man. And he said, you know, those kids you have move the economy. And I thought it was a strange way to say something. But what he meant is everything they wear, every kid has to wear. Everything they have, every kid has to have. Everything you say, Abby, goes in our house. Like everything, because Abby said so.
They
because
were some
Abby
of the
said
first real influencers as
Yes.
children, not your typical Paris Hilton.
But
you
not
know?
even on their social media. I'm talking about just like on the show. Oh, a leotard, this, that, or whatever, you have to do it. And then people started listening to me, what I was telling these kids.
Yep.
And even now, till this day, when I do my cameos or when I speak publicly or I speak at women's auxiliaries and, you know, programs, that how do you get these champions? How do you train these kids? What you say to them? How do you push their buttons? How do you inspire them to be the best that they can be? And something that always surprised me in a nice way was kids always got it. Kids always got the show. You know how dogs know their kids versus adults?
It's true.
And like babies know other kids that they're not adults, they're big kids. And it was like the kids get it. The kids in the airport, the kids at a hotel, whatever, come up and hug me, run up and hug me. 11, 12-year-olds, they don't hug anybody. They hate
We
everybody.
went to Olive Garden yesterday, and this little girl came and just hugged you. Like, never met her before. Just ran, like the mom screaming, like came up and hugged you, like, and
Which is weird. They're not scared of you. They
No.
never have been.
like
That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing, is the kids get it. And I feel like, I hope, that they would love someone in their life that cared about them that much, that got them to that level. Because I think the kids can see through all the crazy that the moms see and adults see and critics may see. This is nuts. How does she talk to these kids this way? Blah, blah, blah. And the kids are like thinking, man, I would be so good if she told me that. If she outed me like that, I would be amazing. And I just think the kids always got it. I always get emails and direct messages online from kids and parents asking if I can record a short video, wishing someone a happy birthday, a milestone congratulations on a special achievement, or even just my advice before performing at a competition. With Cameo, my followers, the ALDC elites, have the chance to connect with me directly. Looking to have Abby Lee's last word as you enter an exciting moment of your life? Maybe put you your friend or a special someone at the top of the pyramid, or do you want them at the very bottom? Anything is possible on Cameo. Connect with me from anywhere on the globe at cameo.com/The Real Abby Lee. That's cameo.com/The Real Abby Lee. The sky's the limit on Cameo.
And well, I mean, you even say yourself, you wish you had your own Abby to make you do your exercises as far as
Oh, my
like,
physical therapy,
your
yes.
physical therapist.
If I had me to be me, I'd be walking. He tried. He failed miserably.
No,
We
you.
get on the phone. We tried it for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I remember we all
You
were
pushed
taking
back
shifts.
so much.
No, yeah, we were all taking shifts doing like
Oh, yeah,
FaceTiming with
right.
Abby during COVID, right?
Right.
Yeah,
It was good. I was walking 280 steps with the walker. I was good.
I would like to briefly talk about how you guys definitely had more of like a different relationship. You know, you were there.
After I came out of prison and was paralyzed and had cancer and almost died.
Yes.
Then they were nice to me.
Well, I think we always had an up and down relationship, right?
It's
I
toxic
don't remember
in a way because your job is to make drama.
Okay.
Right?
Well, I always told Abby, which she didn't like, but I was just being honest. It was like, end of the day, my first priority was making a good TV show. And I think Abby wanted my priority to be
My
Abby
business.
and what was best. No, or just what's best for Abby. You know, in my head, I thought the TV show was best for Abby's business, right?
Yeah.
Because
So
of the things
did so did your coworkers at the
Maybe.
production company.
Yeah.
I think they also thought that me being a television star far surpassed
Mhm.
a dance studio in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It was
Yeah.
like, this is Hollywood and show business, and you're a hit, and you're going to do this and that and have this wonderful life. Forget that and leave that behind. Or
Yeah.
just, we're selfish. We want to make money off of you. Here you go. This is how we're going to make money off of you. We don't have a cut of your studio in Pittsburgh, so we don't care. That's how I felt.
I do have to say though, I mean, honestly, doing this is all a little bit painful for me. Like I didn't really want to come and do this, but the reason why I wanted to do it was that I feel like people think that we hate each other and that we have a terrible relationship. And we don't. We definitely had our ups and downs. And I'm trying to think back, like, okay, when did we have those moments that felt bad and that we stopped talking for, weeks or months, or that you were really angry? I can't think of any examples. I knew you were really angry with me when Kathy had the all boy team, like that hit home to you for some reason. It was very
just
personal
because
to
I
you.
trained boys and I had successful boys,
yeah.
and she never had a good boy to save her life. So I was like, why would they give him her? And I also was upset because my moms were cast on the show. She could bring any mom she wanted. And they kept telling me, camera friendly, Abby. They have to be camera friendly, their faces. They don't have to be gorgeous women, just camera friendly. And then she'd bring like the dog pound.
But your studio's carrying the show. They weren't carrying the show. They just popped in and out,
Yeah,
so
but there were times, stories that get misconstrued, and I remember them one way. And I said, I feel like Melissa sometimes, where you just say a lie over and over so many times you believe it yourself. And Jill, she walked into the studio because of her older daughter. And I kind of grabbed her by the elbow gently. And I said, come into the store, sit in this seat. I want you to be interviewed.
Mm-hmm.
Because I thought she was an attractive woman.
Yep.
I thought she would class up the moms a little bit. She was my age, and she was just raised a little better than they were. That just truthfully, that was it. Is that how that happened?
100%. You brought them in.
Yeah.
And you were really passionate about them being on the team. And we were having a big open call that season.
Coming up.
That was that was second season, the beginning of the second season.
May I ask, did Kendall really need to do that open call, or was she already like you knew?
No, she had to do the open call, but I had done a pre-interview because we had to make sure that they,
There's background checks and things that go into being.
Yeah. So you actually were considering all those other kids.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, if somebody would have shown up,
popped.
If somebody showed up and popped and the mother was fabulous, they would have stayed for a week or two.
Let's just say not me. I mean, Abby's not gonna just do what I say and take a student that you know what I mean.
Because we love Kendall. We love Kendall. Just recently, maybe she just thinks this. She thought that she was already cast at that point.
Oh,
so maybe there was just a miscommunication.
She probably had to go through all the paperwork and get all that in
Just in
order.
case.
In case she had to keep going, right?
Gotcha.
Because she would have
Yeah.
to keep going. So they would have to
Okay.
be in
And she
order.
was a beautiful child.
She was great. She was perfect.
yeah, she
had the
fit it
face
right
of
in
all
with the
other
kids.
And may I say, she brought it as far as
Yeah.
not only the dancing, but like she contributed to the reality aspect when
Now Jill's another story. She's gonna get mad at me,
oh, okay.
but Jill did not bring it the first few episodes. I was worried about her a little
Mhm.
bit.
Why?
So was
She
I.
kind of got
The
eaten
kid
up
fit
by
in.
everyone. She's a little quiet.
Oh, really?
A little
Okay.
subtle.
I will
And then she
say
had her breakout moment.
with the shoe
With the
and
cowboy
the
hat.
cowboy hat. Yes.
Yeah.
I have to say,
But see, I liked it when she was quiet and didn't bring it.
yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
thought, oh, she knows I got her on this show
Right.
and I have her under my thumb.
But
And this is good. I'm going to make her kid a star too. And she's going to be sweet and nice because she owes me.
well,
Yeah.
But what I love about her too, though, everything is so real to her.
so real.
I mean, she's more of a dance mom than any of them.
Do you remember?
Still
when-
Still to this day.
Do you remember when
Still,
her,
she's
when
fighting for
her
Kendall.
middle daughter ran away? Her daughter ran away and her husband was trying to get a hold of her.
No.
And she went in the bathroom with the mic still on and she's calling her husband, going, "What? Where is she? Blah, blah, blah." And she goes back and she sits upstairs and Christy or Kelly turned right around and go, "So how's Charlotte doing?" And it was like,
Well, she's still on the dance team.
oh, yeah.
Right. And she's still competing. And she's at nationals. Like I tried to call them the other day, but they couldn't talk for 5 days because they were at
Why were you
nationals.
trying to call her?
Oh, did I say I was trying to call her?
Yeah, she just said
Mhm.
I
you
don't
were
know.
trying to-
Did I say
But that's a good segue. Let's talk about this reunion you're planning.
that? I don't know what you're talking about.
Yes, there's a reunion because you need something to lead you into a new series because it's just not going to happen out of the world. There's no way.
What
There
is-
is no way. There's no way. You have a new series. You have a new reunion. Well, you have a reboot, which we all know how the reboots are doing lately. I don't mean your reboot. I just mean in general,
general,
reboots.
oh.
Yes, you know that,
Well,
like
it's kind
How
of
I
the
Met
only
Your
thing that's-
Father and all that stuff.
Oh.
So, but let's talk about the reunion.
I can't. Are we editing this? I can't discuss anything about projects.
I will
Oh.
say, I totally valid. Others have.
I know, correct. And
Public.
I was about
So-
to say that.
so-
I know
so-
someone mentioned something that there was a possibility that there could
So-
be.
Yes.
You
Well, I know
Yeah.
personally you've been working on a reunion for 3 years.
You know that I've been pitching.
You and
the
I
last-
have been
you're
pitching,
correct. You're right.
pitching that, and there was never the budget.
You're right.
There was never the money because
Yes,
it
ma'am.
was a cheap network, and we wish Bravo would have bought it from day one. That would have been so much better. I'd be Andy right now, and you know I wouldn't be here. So that I know you've been pitching it, but now I think with the reboot they need some segue to lead
Yeah.
into it to open off the season. So it's going to be the reunion. Yeah, I mean I think that's
I hope
pretty.
we can do.
I think that's pretty television
Look,
101.
I hope we can do a lot more Dance Moms content. You know, and as you know, I'm always pitching stuff. But I think we need to figure out what we're going to do next.
Oh,
And if you get a job, I need a job.
you have a job.
It's time for you to hire me.
You have a job. You just work for a bad network, a cheap network.
Well,
Cheap network.
so
We could do a how do you kill your producer in 57 ways to kill a producer, like your husband.
Do you remember asking me, like, Brian, why do you think people are so compelled? Why do you think people watch me? Why do you think people are compelled by me?
I don't. I probably asked you that many times.
No, it was like about a year ago, and you
Oh.
were serious. I was like, what? And then you go, so what do you mean? And then you go, is it because I'm big? Do you think because I'm a big dance teacher? Do you remember asking
maybe,
that?
probably.
Yeah,
But I know a lot of heavy dance teachers.
yeah.
Yeah, good
But
ones.
you were, for
And
some
a lot
reason,
of
that was
skinny
on
ones.
your mind. But I think that's part of it, though.
no, it's absolutely
a big part of it, and I think
we've
because
spoken about this in
Yeah.
another episode.
Yeah.
We've spoken about how, while I don't know really how to look about it, but it was as the viewer seeing this large woman and
Right.
little children, and we've also spoken about how it's probably more polarizing the fact that you all are females that are on this show, and your typical Gordon Ramsay who's yelling at adults all the time probably wouldn't be judged on such a different sphere. But I have also said to her that I feel like there wasn't really many heavy people on television in that much of a focus, which in a not intentional way, I think
I don't
you
think
paved-
people had seen it. Honestly,
Yeah.
people hadn't seen it, and I think that on top of, to be honest, yes.
Well, that's why I didn't want to be on camera. Okay.
But you, in
But
a
it was
way,
amazing.
though,
It was amazing.
yeah, but you've paved the way for many things, but non-intentionally, I think, and I would hope that more people of all different body sizes were hired to do things, seeing other
Oh,
people
yeah,
like
absolutely.
But
you
it was
know?
also because of her dense vocabulary,
Oh,
which
yeah.
a lot of dance teachers don't use, which I'm shocked by.
Still.
So I
You mean
think
terminology?
terminology, yeah.
Oh.
Dance
So,
teachers
well-
will take her Zoom classes.
Right,
And they
Yeah,
have to.
and
I
they
think
shut their cameras off, and they don't
because-
know that that's. I don't know. There's a 40-year-old woman behind the thing
Right.
getting enough material out of an hour of my class to teach for a year. Right.
But I just think because you couldn't necessarily do the moves, you know, a lot of the times there was so much vocabulary, and I thought people thought that was super interesting to hear. And then what
And
we
your
were hearing
students
is a
need to
lot
know
of
that.
the students need to know that, and the students have to be smart because she can't demonstrate, so they have to know the vocabulary, the terminology, right?
hmm
And then the audience at home was actually learning something every single week.
Brian, do you remember back in the day when people could not even say the word choreographer?
I can't. I try not to say it because I can't.
Choreographer and choreography.
Yeah.
And now dads talk about it at the dinner table.
I know.
Dads, well, did you see that choreography? Well, da 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 da. And it's like, now we say choreo. Like, you know,
Yeah.
people didn't even use those words.
Yeah.
And now they do.
Yeah. High five.
High five. I've had great moments in my personal life. I've had horrendous moments. One horrible moment was when you were no longer working on the show and you had a man named as a producer. And I had knee surgery. And I was forced to go back. And that's here in Los Angeles. And I don't know where my attorney was. I don't know what was going on. But all I know is that I had outpatient surgery. I was taken home after the surgery. And I think the next morning had to be on set by 10 a.m.
You were using a chair as
Dancing.
a walker. You were literally using a chair in front of you to walk.
I know, and I have to say you were amazing that day.
Well, doesn't matter. I was
She was so good.
I was so in
Yeah.
so much pain,
Yeah.
and the knee never healed right. I ended up having knee replacement, which somebody at that network should have paid for, because that was horrible. That shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Amazing moment. I'm at some big dance benefit here in Los Angeles, and Kenny Ortega comes walking towards me, and he had just had surgery, and he had a cane, and he was limping over to me, and I said to my date, get a picture, no matter what, you get the picture with me and with us together, just wake up, take a picture. And he comes over, and he takes his cane, and he's like, you, Missy, you have done more for dance in this world than, and he takes the cane, and then anybody in this room. And don't you let him tell you otherwise. You've done this. And that was like, I couldn't
Gotta
believe
try
he
to
knew
see if
who
we
I
could get
was.
him on. Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean, I was like, so, you know, those are great moments that I had
But you're
because
the
of
most
show.
recognizable teacher in the world, dance teacher in the world, even
It's-
more than Debbie Allen.
Somebody called me Debbie Allen at the mall yesterday. At Culver City Mall. Oh my God, it's Debbie Allen. And I went, and I turned around and I go, no, but I'm going to tell her you said that.
Yeah. And Debbie, you know, she's so supportive of you too.
Yeah.
You've
I'm
been,
shooting something new there on the 19th. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So yeah. She's been great to me. And I've taught there a lot. I give back to the community.
Oh, I was so mad that day she came on the set, and I was briefing her before she came on the set to meet you, and I was like, Abby's gonna try to say this, and she's gonna try to say that. You know, I don't know if you can believe everything she says.
Can I just
Why
ask?
did you say that?
Because you had a plan. You had told me you had some sort of plan, and I can't remember what it was now.
Oh, I wanted to go direct Grey's Anatomy and she could stay there and be me.
And I was
Yes.
just like, you know, she's a lot. She can be a lot to handle, but just listen to her, and you
Oh.
guys, maybe you can come to some sort of agreement about
Wait.
taking over the studio.
Right.
Remember?
And yes, yeah, that was it about. But was there.
Was there?
Yeah,
I'm
he
sure,
was
I'm
running
sure.
the
He probably
the
probably
interview.
was.
You weren't there.
I was there. Yeah, I was there because I talked to them before they went
Wait,
in, and
who? But who was? Did she do this to you or just? Shh. I came to talk to her.
I think
Did she shush you
I
or
think it
him?
may have been me. Because
I like that
think
better.
no, I think
thought she shushed.
I think it may have been me, and then that's when I realized, oh my God, she really likes Abby.
When they
and I was like,
when-
another thing, I was like, she can be. I don't know. We had no idea how you're gonna act every day. I mean, sometimes you were like super gracious, sometimes you were like mean, like, you know. So I was just
Well,
trying to warn her.
y- y-
And then afterwards, Abby was like, I mean, Debbie was like in love with you afterwards, and
Well,
she was serious. She wanted
she
to take
said
over the
to me,
studio.
she said to me about a month ago now, maybe it was a month, 6 weeks ago, when she was contacted, and she said, I just can't believe them. She said, I can't believe how they treat you. She said, when I was there and I think back of coming into your studio on Santa Monica Boulevard, I could not believe the way they treated you. That would never happen on my set. She's like, they treated you like dirt, Abby. Why would you ever consider working for them again? Like, she was appalled, but I feel like it was.
I may have been. I mean, I wasn't I didn't feel like it was a bad interaction with her and I.
No, she was
But
like,
I was just, the point of the story was she just fell for every word that you said, you know, and loved you afterwards.
well, she thought what I was dealing with. And she's like,
And
if
then
you
also-
could put this show out every week dealing with this like riffraff here, imagine what you could do with real
I
people.
think she also saw what you did. You know, what the
Yes.
show and all involved did for dance, you know, and it was giving her more business too because more
Absolutely.
people were dancing.
Absolutely.
But the way that she says, I can't believe the way you're treated, I always wondered, you know, there'd be times where the cameras would follow her into her backspace at the LA studio.
Mhm.
Where did the line draw legally, whatever, for all involved on what they
Well,
what
whatever
you guys
$1,500
could-
a week was getting them, 'cause that wasn't enough.
whatever you could shoot and couldn't shoot, because like she had a private space on the set of a show, so I,
mean,
can
I think-
understand
look,
it's a weird line.
I think it was our opinion that, you know, that was the entire studio was a live set, and our opinion was that we could shoot you no matter where you were in the studio.
Yeah, well, that was
Yeah.
bad.
During the shooting
That was a
hours.
bad opinion. That
During
was
the
wrong.
shooting hours. I mean, I'm just saying, being honest.
Yeah.
That we
That's
felt like we
honest.
could shoot
That's
you.
honest.
And there was a lot of real stuff happening back there.
A lot of
And
real stuff.
there was
but-
a lot of really compelling real stuff and a lot of emotion that was happening
So
back there.
but you were no longer on set. You were not. You
So,
stepped back and you were
because I
working
was
on
doing
new
a lot of
projects.
spin-offs.
Yeah.
There were spin-offs and other projects that I had.
Yeah.
First 4 seasons, I was out there the entire first season, and then every half season I would spend 3 to 4 of the first episodes of each half season out there because we would lose so many producers, and I would come out and reteach people the show.
So how was that? Like, did you have the same? Because I mean, when I was there on season 8, most of those people were there for many seasons.
So by season 4 is when, by 3.5, 4 is when we started keeping everyone. So
okay,
so those last 3 seasons, we pretty much had the same producers, a lot of the same producers and crew. But
They just
yeah,
all
there
had
was a
tattoos.
huge,
I just couldn't even look at them
huge turnover during every half season, the first 3.5 seasons.
because no one wanted to be in Pittsburgh.
It was hard. People leaving their families, and there were
Mhm.
so many episodes. We were doing 12 to like I the other day I was looking at some episode that was like episode 38 from one
which
season.
is just not. I feel like that just doesn't happen anymore.
Doesn't happen.
Shouldn't have happened then. It was rough. It's rough
a
to
lot.
shoot 43 out of 52
Yeah.
weeks a year.
Yeah.
You don't know if you're coming or going. It's crazy.
But you know what? You did it. The kids did it. The moms did it. And I cannot think of one episode that was bad. I mean,
Oh.
every single episode, I feel like we had
I can't either.
great, incredible story. Every single episode, and I think that's what the show's known for, and that's why it was so good.
Yeah, we're
you guys are
biased,
so good.
obviously. I think towards the end of season 7, they were meh, just because we're biased, obviously, because of the way that things ended up. But I think season 8 was great. I think that the
Thought
dancing,
season 8 was amazing.
I think
that was my favorite seat.
the dancing, just because obviously there were
They were older.
more formal auditions, it will say. And they knew what they were all getting into. The kids were also a part of it in a
Yeah.
way, a lot of the drama. And I don't know. I like you said, and like we were saying, that you shot the dancing so well
We did really well with the
with the
dancing,
back
and we-
shots and
yeah, I love it.
everything.
I love it. They did a great job with the coverage.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you name 3 of your most memorable routines, the dance routines, forget about the drama.
Oh, where have all the children gone? 100%.
Because I had one kid in a swing and another one pushing it, and they won.
So good.
By the way, whoever has that swing,
Oh, yes.
let us know.
They reached
We-
out to me.
Oh.
They
Oh,
have
they
the
reached
swing.
out.
Somebody got a cameo that has the swing.
from the auction. Awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, and write in, send us a DM if there's anybody who has stuff from the auction. We would love to see it. We would love to see what you're doing with it. Send a selfie with it.
Yes.
But so yeah, anyway, sorry
The
to cut
last
you off.
text,
Of course.
100%.
That was a really rough episode with me for Kelly's behavior,
Yeah, it was a rough one.
the page crap, and then going downtown, buying the dresses, not being able to get the dresses at one store, different dresses. I had to go from this place to this place to this place. I probably got 2 parking tickets. And then I couldn't get anybody on the flippin' crew to drive over the dresses like they were in a car accident. So I had to lay them down in the parking lot myself in the dark, I think, and drive back and forth over the dresses. Like people have no idea.
But you did that every week.
I didn't try.
I mean, but you were on the hunt for costumes and spent a lot of time every week with the costumes.
Every
and it
week.
was
Because her
insane.
name
There
was on-
There was a lot.
Because
Yeah.
her name was involved,
Right. And people think, oh, you're doing a TV show. You have a whole costume thing. You have a Emmy-winning costume designer doing all this. No, we didn't.
Yeah. But there was such a message with the last text and, doing it on The View, which was unbelievable. That week, you were trying to decide if it was going to be Asia or Kinsey
Yes.
doing the tumbling and falling out.
I don't know. All I remember is that they're camera people at The View.
Well, yeah, it's
We
amazing.
rehearsed it twice and they
yeah, it's
nailed it.
great.
And they
Yeah.
had every kid and knew exactly what
It's
they were doing. I was
amazing.
like, oh, this is the, maybe we
You
should all
ended
learn
up
from
picking
this.
Mackenzie though.
Of course.
She did.
Right.
I liked Suicide Hotline. I liked I liked Ashes from season 8. I like King of Queens from season 8. And I love the way it was shot. It was like so
No more
Yeah.
prayers or thoughts and prayers.
That's yeah.
With the signs.
Very,
Yeah.
very telling now. Very,
Okay.
very
And I like
relevant.
the mirrors. The mirror.
At the beginning.
Oh,
When
This
you
Is
all
My
left
Beauty.
before we won the overall.
Yeah,
Well,
this is my beauty.
That
This
is
is
back.
my beauty. I think
okay.
it's I like the song.
So that's when we realized, when I realized these people have no idea what they're doing. So we're at a dance competition. We're at nationals. We're out in the middle of God knows where, Lake Tahoe somewhere. And we're at this casino, I think, or something, this big
Yeah,
theater.
in
When it had like
yeah.
seats, like booths, like a
Booths.
casino would.
Mhm.
And we win. Way, yay, blah, clap, clap, clap. Crew packs up, leaves. Gianna and I are like, well, there's a whole dance off now that's going to happen. Even the mothers left. We were the only ones there with the kids, and they won the whole entire thing, and none of the crew captured it. We missed all of it.
We have you winning nationals, but Abby sometimes didn't understand that we run out of time with the crew, or we have to have days off sometimes, and so sometimes
I think half
that-
of them should eat lunch while the other half keep working, and then they switch. Then the
We-
other half eats lunch. Why does everybody stop? I
We-
cannot understand that.
We covered you winning nationals, but it was another day that you won like the overall big grand prize,
And they just
we
missed
weren't
it.
there. We weren't there for that.
Yeah.
We weren't there
Okay,
for that.
so I'm glad you brought that up yourself with that number. Now, what about something, if you could recreate something,
Ugh.
a do-over, what would it be? You should think about this with your upcoming reboot. What would you read?
I
What
mean,
would you
what do you
recreate?
mean? What would I recreate?
A number. Is there a number you would recreate?
I was disappointed when we tried to recreate Where Have All the Children Gone. I didn't like what you did with that.
With the boy?
When you brought it back and redid it again.
With the boy?
Yeah,
It won.
I didn't love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
It won.
it beat the
it
other
just didn't
group,
have the
didn't it?
same effect. But that wasn't
Okay,
me. That
okay,
was you. I'm sorry. I
okay.
didn't mean to make it
Well,
about you.
also
So-
were there for that original one.
So
Yeah.
wait,
So-
no,
yeah.
no. Nobody was there for the original one. Was
Well,
done
Oh,
Right.
yes.
in my studio years ago with the boy. It was a really freaky, and he's in New York dancing professionally now. And I think Brooke was like the tiny, tiny littlest one in that she just ran and he
Oh.
grabbed her, and it was super
So
spooky.
she was in the original
super,
and that one.
super spooky. It was really a freaky number
Yeah.
because it was in a recital number, so it was lighting and everything. It was really good.
Yeah.
And yeah, so nobody saw the original one, but something that you would recreate if you could.
I'm not, I don't
A
know. I'm on the
scene,
spot.
A scene, a parent scene, something. Hugging
Recreate because it was
Christy
so
in a
good?
donut store while my
not-
mother's outside.
You mean cut
Just
it or wish
something.
it had never happened? Or,
So, a do-over.
I mean, obviously I would redo the New York competition and you guys would never have had that fight.
Oh,
absolutely, 100%.
I feel like that's the best answer.
Yeah.
I would say, 'cause
Interesting.
I think
No, but then
you.
Kalani wouldn't have been on, and then
No, she
Well,
probably
no,
would have.
no.
She probably would have,
That
right?
doesn't. I said the fight.
okay.
You know,
Yeah.
Kalani was there. You know, she could have still been there, and they still could have performed, and the fight could not have happened.
Right.
I think
So yeah, that
you
would be if I
and
could
Kelly
just
both.
magically snap my finger, it would be the fight.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
That's
you
a
and
good
Kelly
answer.
both.
Because I had
would
to go
agree.
back to New York 3 times, to Brooklyn, the Bronx, to the Bronx,
Mm-hmm.
fly on a plane, stay in a hotel, go to court.
Yeah.
You
So
know,
none
I
of that
just
would have
can't go to New
happened.
York. I have to see a Broadway show, and I have to eat, and I have to spend money and do stuff. So that cost me probably
Yep.
15 grand going back and forth 3 times. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
But-
All for her to get community service.
I think that you and Kelly both would agree that that's something that probably the thing that you would not ever do. Like if
No,
you had-
I didn't strike anybody.
No, you
I
didn't.
didn't do
You
anything.
You didn't.
I didn't do
didn't.
anything. So
didn't.
that's on her.
Yeah, I think.
That's on her.
yeah.
And I put the Sapphires number in. The
Yeah.
world needed to see that duet. And I felt Kalani should have won Abby's ultimate dance competition. So
Mhm.
I was trying to do the kid a favor
Yeah, it just played out in.
But she
such
fell on her
a-
butt.
in the dance. She
Yeah.
did.
That's
See, I
why
don't
she was
remember that.
eliminated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why she was eliminated because she fell.
She
It-
fell.
Oh, in Abby's ultimate.
Yeah, I
I
thought
thought
you
you meant
meant
in the
in the-
Sapphires
it-
duet.
yeah.
I
Oh,
was
no,
like,
no,
no,
no.
she didn't.
No, that's why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well, she was given a stupid cowboy
And then,
dance.
and then
That's
that's
why.
when isn't that when you called the wrong winner?
Yeah.
yeah.
Who was it down between? It was Kalani and who?
McKaylee?
Was it
Or no?
McKaylee?
Gianna.
And you said Gianna's going home, but you should have said Kalani was going home.
All I know is I heard my
Trinity.
ear electrocute my brain because I had an earbud in. The world knows. So I have a thing in my ear and they're talking to me from the control room, telling me what to say. So all that pausing that looks like I have no clue what I'm doing, that was them. That was not me. I could have been out of there a half an hour early in my car home and dragging it out like the suspense. And so I said the wrong name.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But you made it right, and you got or helped get Kalani on the show. I
On
think.
Dance Moms, which
yeah.
did a lot better for her than winning Abby's Ultimate.
I'm gonna ask a controversial question. Whose decision or who told Kira to get her mole removed to be on camera? I'm going to ask a controversial question. It doesn't need to be answered by name. I'm just curious, is that true? She was told, or she made the decision on her own, but I want to know.
Look at his face.
I never.
Satan did it.
Am I
Hey.
turning red?
No, it's listen. if you want, that's
I never told Kira to remove her mole.
okay.
They
Good.
just had a car
Great.
pick her up and take her to
I
the
had
doctor.
someone else tell her.
Okay,
No, I'm kidding.
okay. So it wasn't you. You didn't tell her.
I did not tell her.
Okay, but she was told by somebody to
I-
do it, and she made the decision,
I
right?
didn't physically tell her. I was the one that went to her and told her.
Okay. Hey, she did it.
He had an underling color.
She made the decision.
It
I'm
was
not-
a good decision.
Yeah, no
I don't think she
disrespect.
regrets it.
Yeah,
Is
no,
she
I
mad
don't.
about it?
I don't think she's mad about it, and no disrespect.
She
if
looks
you're
amazing.
watching, Kira. You look
And
awesome.
by the way, have you seen her recently?
Yeah, she's had
she's
another
unbelievable.
child.
She's
Right?
in that gym every single day, and like her
Yeah.
body's insane.
Not only did she have Jack, she had another kid after that, which
Mhm.
was amazing.
By the way, you know who I really love is Kalani. I really do.
I did
She's
too.
a cool
I loved her.
girl. Like I love talking to the kids right now as adults. Like I have a little texting relationship with her, which I think she's just a really good kid.
Okay, as an executive producer, tell our audience and our viewers, what does that entail? Like, what does that really mean? Because I wasn't one, and I should have been.
You were on Abby's Ultimate.
Yes, but I
Yeah.
still didn't have a
There's-
say because we wouldn't have had that stage, and I
There's
wouldn't have been
different-
in the theater up in a sauna.
There's different types of EPs. You have EPs at the network. You have EPs at the production company. You have EPs that are ahead of current at the production company, and they're over lots of different shows. And then you have EPs that are showrunners, right? So I mean, and all those jobs are completely different. And I've done all those. I feel like
So
as
being
I
an
realized-
executive producer of Dance Moms,
Yeah.
What did that entail?
Well, it's in pre-pro, it's a lot of work, as you remember in season 8, like how many times we got together and we really tried. We knew how many episodes we were going to have, and we really tried as best possible to try to come up with creative in regards to numbers,
Okay.
you know.
Then I
But
would go rogue and say, I'm not doing that. We're doing this
yeah.
instead. I had an idea last night. This is what we're doing.
And you do a lot of interviewing with the cast, and you really try to figure out what's going on with them that's real, and you try to predict what their series arcs are going to be,
For each person,
like what
for
is
each
going to be
cast member.
and you don't stick to it, but you try to prepare, so you want to build story around that, and you always, obviously the more real the better.
And would you
So
say that Abby's Ultimate Dance Competition, getting those people in for a competition, for an actual elimination process, is different than Dance Moms?
Yeah, and I have to say that's way harder because that happens so fast. So before you even go into production and start shooting that show, every single number has to be decided on. Every bit of music has to be picked out. Every choreographer has to be assigned to every single number because we were shooting a show every 3 days, right? Dance Moms, we can literally, we have ideas, we have music that we have in a library that we think we can use. We have
Right,
ideas
right.
of creative, but it changes every week depending on the competition, who wins and who loses, and who's going to be at the top of the pyramid and who's going to dance the next week and why.
And who Abby's
So,
not at, and
right.
who she's
So
not.
that's what I love about Dance Moms is, it changes. So literally Saturday night in the car rides on the way home with producers, we all get together, and then depending on how far away we were, it would be 4 or 5 hour drive. And we literally try to
That's
figure
why
out.
I was on the bus instead of in the car driving home, because they
So
were
you could
working,
hear everything.
We were working.
which
Yeah.
I didn't even care. Who cared at that point?
Yeah.
But
So it's a lot of trying to figure out, at the last moment. But it's a lot. You know how it is. It's a lot to get the right music and to satisfy you, which is really hard. And
Well, it's not. It's
mean-
not. It's not hard to get the right music if you use real music.
right,
That's
but we
the
can't
difference.
afford that.
Exactly.
But there was something. But okay, let's think about
But
that.
let's
There's
talk
something
about
charming
the
about
music.
that.
Yeah, let's talk about making something amazing with what you have to work
But
with. That's what you're.
and I think the kids loved the unknown music.
Oh yeah, I
Like
will
they-
say.
like I
Well,
feel
like
like that
people
was
like
part
Rachel
of the charm.
Sage and these wonderful people coming to our rescue and saying, "Here, you can use my music free of charge."
Right.
That was great.
Yeah.
But going,
It put you at it. Look, it did put you at a disadvantage, I think, at the competitions because, of course, you would rather be dancing to known music that the judges know. But I do think the fans and the kids at home
Yes.
loved the original
Absolutely.
music. They love to research it and
Absolutely.
who
right,
sang
no,
this.
but
and,
I used to do that in my studio. I mean, I would go for hours and hours and hours and find one piece of music for one kid solo. Like
Yeah, yeah.
and that back then you had to spend money. I had to buy 5 CDs and listen to them on the way home from New York, all the way home to find that one song for one kid. I did that. I love finding the right music.
Yeah.
That's great. It just put us at a disadvantage
Yeah.
with like
judging.
finding it and the time spent finding it instead of let's do sing sing sing. Let's do hit me with a hot note. Let's do Candor and Ab cabaret. Let's do this. It was hard. I think to find that musical theater type stuff, the lyrical, the contemporary, fast dance house music, that was easy.
Yeah.
But to find a really hot musical theater song was tough.
Yeah, it was.
And we could have done more of that.
And so many weeks, it would be Wednesday morning, and we're still searching for music, and they had to start choreographing.
Because
that
they sent me
afternoon.
stuff Tuesday
Yeah.
night, and I was like, nope,
Or
nope.
she doesn't
nope.
like it, or we don't like the creative, or
So in that
I
moment,
mean, that's when I get really nervous and start sweating, is when I have to go into Abby and start pitching ideas. And what do you think of this? And like, what do you think about this music? And
And how was I? Imitate me.
it depends on your mood. Sometimes you were great, and other times you were just didn't want to hear it.
and to be fair, you were going through a lot, especially towards the end.
Yeah.
You were going through a lot.
You mean my
so-
dog died, my mom died, I was
Well,
going to prison? Yeah, all that. Mhm.
Having to show up to work when you're going through something like that for anybody, I'm sure would make you pissed off and
Yeah.
not really.
Well, I showed up for work. It was
Yeah.
showing up for my TV show job that was rough. That was rough.
because you worked and then you also
She was
worked.
tired.
I was-
again.
I worked.
Yeah,
She was tired.
It was a lot.
It's
It was exhausting when you
For-
think about it, when you look
And
back and
sh-
you look at the numbers.
And Abby doesn't like to be told what to do.
Mm-mm. Nope.
And there was a lot of like, Abby, you need to shoot the show, and this is what we need. This setup. We need you to talk about this. We need you to talk
I
about
think a lot of
this."
people also think that Abby was the reason for like how the pyramid went. It was only because of what Abby had to say. Like, but I'm sure you guys had something to do with how
It was
the
a
pyramid.
negotiation every day. We did that together. We did a lot of that together.
Right. But as soon as like one mom would open their mouth to me, I want to just rip their kids off that pyramid and
you
throw them on the
did.
floor.
You did.
It
a
was
lot of
like,
times.
are you for real, women? Are you for real? You realize that every argument, every fight, every drama that you carry out is lessening the time your kids have to learn this dance. For real, like 3 years, get it together. Quick, go, boo, go to the jugular, hurry up, make the fight happen, and let's go. Let's get on with
But
it.
you're
That's what
acting-
drove me insane.
I know, but you're acting like it was fake, though. I mean, it was. that
No.
was all
But
real.
I mean,
Okay.
like the pyramid, like it was. There's something about seeing your child's face down low at the bottom of that pyramid that is destructive to a mother. I see that.
Yeah.
But you've been doing this for 3 years, so you know it's going to hurt your feelings. You know your kid's going to be upset, but we still have a dance to learn.
Yeah. I
So
see.
cut to the chase. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just curious because I feel like there's always like everybody just thinks it was just her making the
No.
decision.
No,
Okay.
I was not the executive producer. It was not my decision
But-
all the time. I lent
Your 2 cents.
my 2 cents
Yeah.
in because the pyramid, to me, it was supposed to set up a reward for how they did at last week's competition. And if the kid on top won and they were fabulous, then we really couldn't give them a solo again the next week because
They'd
it
just be
got
dancing
redundant.
every single week.
Yeah, but then taking somebody that was at the bottom that was last, that sucks.
But you had to
And
give
giving
them a
them
chance.
a solo didn't make sense then for me. I would like to see them work their way up, then get the solo and knock that person out of the top spot. And that would never happen. And then towards the end, it was just like a joke to me.
I thought it worked in season 8, but end of the day, she had to justify it. So
Okay.
she's the one that really had to sell it. So it was a negotiation, and what was best for
Yeah,
that
it's
week.
like
and-
selling a product you don't believe in.
Speaking of negotiations, I'm so curious how your contract was like figured out. Like, because like you said, there was like you did the 6 weeks and then there was no like in between.
There was
So-
never a separate deal for my studio
yeah.
in Pittsburgh and a separate deal for me. It's like
Okay.
the studio just came along with it. And I had no attorney at the beginning,
Yeah.
nothing. Then I had an attorney that one of his former coworkers recommended. And I ended up during my bankruptcy having to pay that guy $100,000 to go away, to get rid of him, because he wanted a commission on the life of my contract. And
Oh.
he was on 8 years. You remember that?
Yeah.
And he was the one that allowed his client to sign a contract that had all these other stipulations in it. Like I could only be on another network show once every 13 episodes that we did. So like when I was asked to go on The View, then I was asked to co-host The View.
You had to do them in separate years.
Well, no, I couldn't have, let's just say, I'm not political, so they wouldn't have
you
wanted
wouldn't-
me.
yeah.
But let's say they said, hey, we have a position for you on The View, Abby. We want you to be on The View. I would have dumped Dance Moms like a heart attack and
Yeah.
been a co-host on The View. Or like, we want you to be in Chicago on Broadway for 3 months. I couldn't. Dancing with the Stars.
But you could always ask for permission, if you needed to exceed.
So that was available.
Ask for permission. Oh, he's full of shit.
You could have.
They wouldn't have let me. I
You
could
don't
have asked.
think? Oh, I think they would have loved you to be on those
You know,
other
you're
shows.
not. And to clarify for
Yeah, that's not
listeners,
my
Bryan
decision.
is not
Yeah,
the
it's-
one that makes that decision.
No,
It's an
so
no,
let's
no,
clarify.
no,
We're not
it's not.
trying to say here that Bryan is the
Yeah.
one that said no all the time. Let's
No,
make
no,
that
he
clear.
didn't say no all the time,
Yeah.
but he's not the one that could have said
Yeah,
yes.
I was just curious
Yes.
about that because I know
And-
that it
and-
was always
and also
sparse.
there was a million things I was asked to do.
But now, how is it that you got stuck with 8 seasons from signing after doing something for 6 weeks?
It was a 4-year contract with a 4-year option.
But like, why?
And I think that
which
another
is good in a way because they probably thought, oh, she's good enough. Like, well, let's just do it. And see if
no,
she
it was just verbiage that he missed and shouldn't have done. And
By the way, every reality show
It's like
agreement,
that.
and what she got was completely standard of every
Okay.
reality show that exists that's on television now.
Well,
So
that,
it's all very standard.
I'm just so- yeah.
some of the stuff is standard, but the stuff about like doing other things or my business, my building, that's not standard. And that should have all been in there. Even when I moved to LA and I was paying $30,000 a month, $29,000 a month rent, and I put my own 420 grand into building it out, then the show comes in and they're paying $1,500 an episode to use the space. They should have, and remember when we did the flooring and we did the glass and the mirrors, there should have been a special shot on that building, creating that building. And the kids running in and Mackenzie diving on the floor saying, thank you, I love the floor with the guys that built the floor. Like that all should have been trade outs. And it was. And then the network wouldn't edit. They wouldn't thank them at the end. They wouldn't do this. They wouldn't do that. So instead of me paying a third of the bill, I paid the whole bill.
I think end of the day,
That was bad negotiation.
Trade-outs are really hard on TV.
Well, yeah,
They're
I
really- they're
mean,
really hard.
you know, and everybody's trying to do their job.
But I
Right.
see people
Yeah.
thank at the end, thank you for the city of Chicago for da 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 or whatever all the
Yeah.
time. They wouldn't thank them. So I got stuck with all of it. And it should have been a third. I should have put 150 grand into it instead of 420, right? And that would have been way easier on me. And, you know, it was like my home. All the other moms bought new homes or built
Yes.
new homes. And I built out a dance studio
was your
for them
dream
to
home.
use and bring in a cooler full of ice and spill it all over the place.
That was your dream home.
Yeah. And so, and I loved that school. And then it was just, the invasiveness and coming into my area where I dressed and showered and all that was just not okay. And many days, my attorney was in that room, sitting there. And he's like, I don't have to do this on any other show with any other client, but I have to come here. I have to drive here and sit here.
Oh, so much good stuff happened back there, though. I know I said
Because
it before. It was so
TV,
good. It
yeah,
was
no, we
so-
loved it.
It was
Thank
such
you
good
for
TV.
it.
People were like, "Duh," I mean, it was such good. You slamming the
Oh, that
window
was great.
down, and you're not allowed back here. You know, I mean, it was so good.
But
It
the
was-
moms
it was all the
don't
real-
rule the dance studio, you
Oh, it
idiot.
was so good. Abby, it was so good. You're so good.
All right. One other thing that we had talked about was the Broadway show. So, Dance Moms, the musical, was brought to me by a big time director, Tony winning director, producer, and Harvey Fierstein was going to write the book. Rosie O'Donnell threw it out there into the universe that she would like to play me. And I took to the network that, and Christian Chenoweth to play Melissa. I mean, it was just all falling into place.
Yeah.
And then for me, that was be the ultimate of my life.
It would be right.
I mean, and to be able to not use one choreographer, but to use, well, Gianna, of course, but to use Mark Myers and this one and that one and different choreographers for different numbers used in the show. That's never been done. Never been done. They have assistant choreographers and associate choreographers, and they have doctors that come in and doctor up a show, but they've never had like different numbers within a show done by different people.
Yeah.
That could have opened doors for many, many people. And I also pitched that the first, like they could have done 4 episodes on finding the cast, to find the cast to be the kids in the show.
100%.
I mean, that
And
would
you
have been
could
brilliant.
helped, you could have helped. You two both could have done
That's
the
a reality
casting for
series.
it.
That's
It's
a
a
reality
series in
series that leads
itself.
up to the Broadway show.
Yeah,
and all that could have been done. And the network says no. Then I get out of the hospital. I'm shooting season 8, and we're doing a flippin' musical theater number for nationals for somebody that's the head of the network's husband, who's the Broadway show producer. And I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. We wanted nothing to do with Broadway. Nothing, nothing, nothing. And now all of a sudden, we have these people that are in the Broadway world, and we didn't use them 2 years ago. Why?
Yeah. I don't know what happened with this in your story, but I mean, they just wouldn't give you the rights. You applied for the rights, and A&E wouldn't
Right.
give you the rights.
Right. But
Oh, okay.
then, you know, with everything they did, like the video game that they failed and the app that they failed, all of that stuff that they didn't want to do that they should have done, they would have just had their cut. Like, what's the deal? You know?
Yeah, I don't.
And you
know.
can still do your reboot. It wouldn't have mattered if
Yeah,
the
I
show
don't
would have
know.
run a couple years.
I don't know anything about that. Sorry.
And the show would have been great because, well, we could have kept casting the kids.
That'd
you
be
know?
an amazing Broadway show. I mean, Dance Moms is made for Broadway.
The
A Broadway
gays,
musical.
the older
I mean,
women
everybody.
and kids,
kids.
families. I mean, it's a no-brainer that it should have been. I know. Rosie said it's not too late.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's a huge regret
No,
that I have.
Rosie cannot play you. I will not allow that. Sorry.
Not at this.
She can't sing. You need
Oh.
someone who can like wail.
Yeah, that's
You need
true.
someone who
True.
wail.
Yeah, Melissa McCarthy.
Can she wail?
She was Ursula, so I would hope so.
Oh, you want a diva?
A
That will.
diva, yes. I
Well-
saw Six last night.
So
Oh my
good.
Oh, they're
gosh.
good.
So
They're good.
we saw it together. It was so good.
We saw it in New York.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we saw it in New York.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people on RuPaul's Drag Race have done you, like, or over the years, or people thought that they've done you because they've looked like you with the hair and everything like that. So I don't know. I think maybe like in a respectful, not being rude to you, but I think a drag queen could definitely bring that. I'm sure you could agree that a drag queen would definitely
Oh.
bring that energy
If they wailed, yeah.
if they could wail, right?
Really sing.
Jinx.
Yeah. Jinx.
I don't think she's Abby.
Maybe.
I don't think she's Abby,
I don't
but
know.
so we can find it. We'll find a diva.
But we spoke about a lot of like top of the pyramid, or excuse me, bottom of the pyramid moments for the whole thing. I would love to hear some things that you both loved. Some more things. So we've talked about some good things, but
Loved
like
some things
like
we
some
loved.
top of the pyramid moments for the entire experience, your relationship, just everything. What is something that you'll always remember?
Wait, you think about that. I
Yeah.
want to interject something in. You came to prison to visit. How many times did you come?
Twice,
Couple?
I think.
Okay. All right. One time you went into like a memorial service for somebody for some guard that committed suicide and got some girl pregnant. Or I don't know, something.
What?
Yeah, you
I don't know that
happened
story.
on in
Oh,
with the crew, or maybe the news. That was the news people like happened on into some like a funeral, like a what am I trying to say? A ceremony
me?
for a fallen guard.
was
Yes.
that me? I mean, we can't. I mean, I don't mind if you want to tell the story about me coming and what happened. I mean, I guess
They said there's some
guy here to
like-
see you.
and I said, who is it? And they said, well, it's one of those. I flipped out. Oh, I lost my mind.
oh.
That made me so happy that she actually stood up for me.
Well, listen, I mean, if there's one thing that people should take away from anything that you hear of Dance Moms of Abby, she is such an ally for the LGBTQ community.
Well, yes, absolutely.
Like-
but I flipped out. I went to the higher ups,
Oh, that made me
I
so
was
happy.
like, this person needs fired. Da da da
That's
da da
sad.
da 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 da
That's
da.
sad.
That
I didn't
it's-
know
It was 2018. Like I was like, for real?
But she still refused to see me.
Yeah. But I
Well,
think you
but
had
you
to be on
gotta
the
take
list.
what you can get, I guess.
maybe
You
so.
had to be
Maybe
on the
it was.
list.
Oh,
You had to be on the
okay. Yeah, I
list.
wasn't
Yeah.
on the list. That's right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
It was
Oh.
funny that they even told me you came
Oh,
because
right.
you weren't on the list.
The second time I came was with a crew.
I was supposed
and
to
I was
get
at
out,
the gates waiting for you to get out of prison.
which we
And
all thought I was getting
shooting a
out.
special, and I was going to do an interview with you all the way to the halfway house.
This is, I like where we're going with this.
Yeah.
Can we, let's keep talking about this.
Now, that doesn't happen because I don't get out
Yeah.
when it was planned. 4
Yeah.
months, I was supposed to get out. Then 6 months, supposed to get out. Now it's 8.5 months. And at 4 or 5 in the morning, they come kick my bed, kick me in the head. And this stuff's in the documentary that I shot.
Mm.
And anyway, I end up at a halfway house. Not the one I was supposed to go to, a completely different one. And I'm out, and I'm out, and I'm out. And now I make one phone call. I'm out.
Who was the first person you called?
I don't know if it was Nikki or Diana. I think it was Nikki. I'm out. And then she called Diana. And I can have a visitor for 3 minutes
Really?
every hour. I think that's how it went. And to my recollection. And so Diana would sit in a car outside the halfway house and Nikki, and then they would come in for 3 minutes and hand me stuff and talk to me and then leave. And then an hour later, the next one would come for 3 minutes. It was insane. Run in, hand, run out, run in, run. And then I could have a brand new cell phone. And I didn't know that because there's a lot that's in the documentary, but all these people that tell you something, these counselors before you go in are completely wrong. None of them know. They're all full of crap. And so it was all different. But
I didn't know for a few days you were hiding it from me, or several. Diana, I think everyone was hiding it from me.
well,
We thought you were in like Long Beach
they
or
just
something.
wanted to send you like on a wild goose
Yeah,
chase around
yeah.
LA
I
trying
think
to
it's
find me.
funny.
Also, she just got out of
Yeah.
prison, so I
Yeah,
think
and
they
I
wanted to
wanted a
give her
camera.
a.
I wanted a camera on her.
I know you did,
You
but
know what I'm
maybe
There
they,
were cameras on me. They were in the trees.
Maybe she needed a minute. Maybe she
They
just
were
needed
in
a
the
minute.
trees, in
Yeah.
the branches hanging over, shooting
Yeah.
down on me.
Yeah.
It was insane. So you heard I was out.
Mhm.
What's the next thing you hear?
I remember trying to get in touch with you, and I texted you, and I think you ended up responding, but weren't ready to see me
Okay.
at that point. And then the next thing I know is everything that I'm just seeing in the tabloids.
That she had
That's
cancer.
all.
No. That I'm out.
Her being sick and getting into Ubers and going to the hospital and
Like in
all that
shorts and a
all that
t-shirt and-
craziness, and
it
you look
just-
terrible.
Yeah, it just went down.
It was like really scary. Yeah, it was really scary.
And that's what you were saying.
Yeah, that's all I knew.
That's what everybody was seeing. Because I
Okay.
didn't even know when you had your phone back. I didn't know when to text you. I didn't know.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I would
It all
try to
happened.
find these.
When
these
did you have the pain in
tabloids.
your back after you got out?
3
April.
days.
Yeah. Well, April 1st was Easter Sunday,
And-
and I went to Mass, and I didn't feel good. And before that, I didn't feel good. And then April 2nd, I was in really a lot of pain. And then April 3rd is when I went to the first doctor.
Okay.
And then between April 3rd and April 13th, I went to 6 doctors. So you were seeing all that
Yeah.
in the tabloids.
Yeah.
And then when did you see the news conference that Dr. Malamed, was that
I
the
arranged
first you
that.
heard? You arranged that?
Yeah.
Okay. So was that the first you heard or you heard before that?
I got a call from Dinah at that point when she was super upset, and I think you were going into emergency surgery. Yeah, that's when it got really scary.
Okay.
So yeah.
And what was going through your mind then?
Oh no, I was
Damn,
super
She's not
scared.
going to fulfill that contract.
she's got one more season to
I'm
do.
out of work.
No, we
I'm
can-
out of work for another year.
No,
No.
we can talk about that. It felt really traumatic at the point. I was, it was scary and emotional. I mean, I think you remember. I think Dinah probably told you that I think it was the next day after the surgery, you told Dinah that I could come for 2 minutes. He can come for 2 minutes. And I went and sat in the lobby, and I went in to see her. And I was very emotional.
That was the first
I
time you
was
saw her.
tearing up, and
since-
it was hard
And
to
I was like
see
blown
it.
up like a blimp
Yeah, you were. Yeah, yeah.
because I lost all that weight, 127 pounds. And I started gaining it back when they abruptly took
Yeah.
me off that medication. Then by the time I was out and by the time I had the surgery, they just blew me up with steroids to keep me alive. It was
And
scary.
I mean, in my head, and I don't remember if I had your permission, or maybe I did maybe I did ask. But in my head, because we were supposed to do a special, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
this
yeah,
special is
we
not a
were.
special anymore. This is a documentary. And so
It
I
was the
started,
special about prison.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is a real
Yeah. And then there
documentary
was
now.
a big issue with the contract I signed
Yeah.
because
It was different.
the story
content.
now was about prison. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm giving you
Mhm.
prison. I'm not giving you this.
Right.
This is my
Yeah.
story to sell. And then
Yeah.
you guys were like, no, we need it all. And there was a lot of back and forth.
But
I'm
I
curious
started
where does
talking.
like as a friend, as a person, as a human, as a producer, like how do you decide should I film this? Is that
That-
your automatic?
that's
first?
a great question.
right. I
And
mean,
it's really difficult. I
wouldn't
mean,
know.
because on top of just being emotional and scared, but at the same time, you're like, oh my God, this is so
It's like as a human, it's like, what am I?
insane,
I'm really gonna
and
take my
this is-
phone out? Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
right.
Ugh,
It
ugh.
felt really weird. And I knew that I probably shouldn't be doing it. Number one, in the hospital, you're not really supposed to be shooting that stuff.
Yeah.
And then, like, is Abby really going to be okay with it?
And
she was out of it.
And he did.
I did. And we had some really incredible moments.
Did we use it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
a lot of it.
the moment that you found out that you were cancer free, made the
Well, that was with real cameras
That was that
we
audition.
actually shot.
Yeah, that was.
But a lot of the stuff that Abby and I did, we spent like 8 months in the hospital. Like, I would go probably 3 or
Mhm.
4 days a week. I wouldn't shoot every time, but I would have my cell phone, and we would do a lot of interviews, or I would get a lot of real stuff that was happening,
But you
so
were
I
also
fell
yeah.
asleep
secretly.
in a chair in Pittsburgh shooting interviews, but I
you-
was wide awake in a hospital
Yeah,
bed
with cancer.
with cancer.
With
Okay.
chemo drip.
Yeah, chemo
Yeah.
drip. Chemo
But
drip.
Chemo brain.
Chemo
Yeah.
brain.
But you were really, you helped her stretch her legs all the time.
But I wanted to work because it
Yeah.
had
She
been
did.
so
she
long.
she was better than she'd ever been. Like, she was wanting to. Like, she
Yeah.
needed that. And It was the first
creativity.
time I ever really heard this, and it's just so dumb to even say this, but I had a lot of conversations with Kim about it because Kim had lost a really good friend. Kim from the network had lost a really good friend to cancer, and this was like the first time I'd had to really deal with someone that was sick.
Mm.
And for the first time in my life, I felt responsible for someone. I don't know, I'm not
Yeah, because
sure
you
why.
caused that cancer.
No.
I had to cut it out of me. Okay.
But there was a part of me that actually really, and I would talk to Kim a lot about it, and she was like, Bryan, you just have to. The biggest thing is Abby needs hope. Like she needs hope. So every time you talk to her during the day, give her hope about something. And many conversations that we had, you were like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want it to be over. You even said I want to die. I don't want. And so the hope was that, for me saying, let's shoot some stuff. We're gonna get you healthy. You're gonna have another show. And I feel like she needed that every day. So I think the shooting for both of us was really
Cathartic.
good.
Yeah,
But for
cathartic.
me personally, it was like, okay, first time in my life that I haven't thought about myself. It felt good thinking about someone else. And
Oh, good, Bryan.
go to-
I'm glad that Almost Dying did that for you.
but it's true. I
yeah.
did. It was like it was good. It was a good thing.
Well, I
And we had a-
needed. I like the creativity, and I like to talk about dances and ideas, and not Nia being pregnant, but other ideas.
But there
Yes.
wasn't some insanity of every time we had to transfer her from the Cedars to rehab was a nightmare.
Well, yeah, you would
This
literally
woman
lift.
was out of her mind.
Well,
And there was
but also,
she,
Dr. Pirro kidnapped me once and took me to his place, and we did the PET scan.
Yeah.
And it was cancer free, and that was after the 3 treatments of chemo. Why I did 10, I will never forgive any of them because all my bones are brittle and all
Well,
that.
she
Yeah.
made me break her out of the hospital illegally and take her to the movies and load her up into a car, load her up into a wheelchair at the movie theater, and then get you back to the rehab. But yeah, those
What movie
rough.
was it?
Those were rough days.
What movie was it? Does anyone remember?
You went. I didn't go in.
You don't remember? I'm just curious.
You didn't go into the movie theater?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you didn't even go.
I'm
You
not in
were
a
like, I'm
movie.
not going anywhere
No,
near this.
I was like,
you were
so-
already too deep.
I was so stressed at that point. I was
Oh.
like,
It was in the parking garage that we were in at Century
oh,
City.
couldn't
and
get you
they-
out of the car into the wheelchair, and your wig was falling off, and it was.
But you were living. You
But I
wanted
went
to
to the
live.
movies.
You wanted to live.
I had
That's
to
what she
get out of
said.
that hospital.
Yeah.
She goes, I have to live. I
Yeah,
can't feel like
yeah.
Yeah, you can live or die, and laying there in between is not living. Not too long ago, I was in the hospital fighting for my life, fighting a very rare form of cancer, Burkitt lymphoma, choking my spinal cord, knocking at death's door, and having to go through 10 very invasive rounds of chemotherapy. I never thought I'd be able to stand on my own 2 feet again, let alone teach dance. It wasn't until Dancers Against Cancer visited me during my recovery to help in my time of need that I realized their incredible mission. They have created an alliance in the dance community that provides financial support and inspiration to dance educators, choreographers, studio owners, dancers, and their families who have been impacted by cancer. The I'm a Dancer Against Cancer campaign was founded in 2012 in response to the loss of a young dancer from cancer. Since then, it has become a beacon of hope in the dance community, uniting dancers all over the nation. Join the fight against cancer and help make a difference with the dance community. For more information on how to get involved and make a one-time or even monthly donation, please visit I'mADancerAgainstCancer.org/donate. Again, please get involved and make a difference within the dance community. Visit I'mADancerAgainstCancer.org/donate. There was something you commented on that audition show. I had a pink sweatsuit on with a pink and white sequin stripe thing, and Diana got me ready, and it was in Beverly Hills, and it was the audition for
Oh, yeah.
season 8.
Oh, yeah.
The final
Yeah, and
audition
you
for season 8. And
got
I
in your
showed up.
wheelchair. That was your last day in the hospital. You got out of the hospital in your wheelchair, and you went down La Cienega Boulevard
Right, and
in your wheelchair to the set
right,
on your last day of the hospital.
right, and we did the hair and makeup and everything in the
Yeah.
hospital room.
That was season 8 auditions, the final auditions.
Right,
And,
and so
part of the
then-
special too.
Yeah, we knew we were going to go back then and do season 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever think that would happen though, from the time you saw me in the hospital?
Not in the beginning, but I mean, after a few weeks, that was like, I know we can do this. I really do. When I heard that the chemo was so effective with this type of cancer, then I said, I think she can do it.
Then we shot season 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which was awesome.
It was great. It was underrated. I think that the timing, just right before COVID, right before the pandemic, it was a time where everybody was starting to stream instead of watch, and it was a transitional time, I feel.
Well, I just
It
feel
was a
that
whole
the
new cast.
network made a huge mistake and didn't pull the plug fast enough. If they would have just done season B,
You mean greenlit?
right?
Yeah.
Right. No, I don't mean pull the plug. I mean,
was like,
like no. If they would have just greenlit the next season, then people would have fallen in love with the kids, and there were stories there.
But
And then the kids themselves were a little more mature, a little
Yeah.
more savvy, and they kind of
But
was
you guys
more
are
about
talking like
kids.
it did bad. It didn't. It
no,
actually did
no,
decent.
no.
And people don't realize that you were still going through a lot of medical issues during that entire shoot.
yes,
And she stayed in a facility right next to,
Yeah.
the dance
where my
studio.
mother
I would-
died.
Yeah.
Yeah, where
It's
your mom
not easy.
died. I would
Yeah.
meet you there at 5:30 in the morning, and you're in that bed, and we would, do the briefings every single, day at 5:30
You
in
would
the
come
morning.
over at 5:30 in the morning and start. I mean,
Yeah.
people don't realize 5:30 in the morning I was working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be back in that studio and to be back there though in Pittsburgh, it was great.
Yeah.
I got to see all of Abby,
I know. Well,
every bit of her.
I remember the
every
the couple
does too.
weeks.
He does
Yeah,
too.
the couple weeks that I was there, we would go from the set to
Oh, I forgot. Yeah.
yeah, it was nonstop.
Yeah,
and
it
for
was-
anybody to come out of a recovery and still be in a recovery and then be working and then be doing it.
You always worked hard, but I feel like you
That
worked extra hard that season 8, I think,
Yeah,
because I think you had a lot to prove. I think.
I did. I
Yeah.
felt like I had a
That
lot
you
to
could
prove,
work
and that I could work, that I could
Yeah.
be a contribution to something bigger than physical therapy,
Yeah.
and that I could do it. I could make it happen. And I like that physical therapy place in Pittsburgh too, where all the Steelers go and stuff, and they were good there.
Yeah.
If it was closer,
and also you are proving each and every day that anybody who is in a wheelchair who has any kind of issue can do it.
Right.
Like there wasn't any. I didn't know any famous
I just
person
flew all
that
over the
was-
world. Like
You've been. I could never.
Yeah.
A lot of people. I don't know. So
well, you can't be vain. You have to, and I figure I've been a bra on TV. I've been this. I've been that. I've been everything. I can do this.
say a lot of shit about Abby Lee Miller, but the fact that I don't know, just as your friend, I'm biased, but
Yeah,
I mean,
but you got to keep going. That's the thing. You live
Yeah.
or you die, and if you're going to live, you can't just lay in this bed and do nothing. You have to get out and see the world and go here and do this.
Yeah.
Can we go back to a question that we never answered?
yeah.
We were talking about the good times.
The
'cause
good
we
times,
Don't, we don't
yes,
talk about the
please.
good
Yeah,
times
let's-
enough. I
No,
don't
no,
think.
yeah,
we
let's-
never did. We never showed a good time.
No, that's
We
not
ate
true.
ice cream once, I think. Go ahead.
The car
Well-
with Kalani was good, but like you said, what good moments do you remember?
I personally, I was always in heaven when there was a treat for the kids or
Yeah.
something that you got to direct. So like
Chocolate.
the music videos. So like the Brooke music video and
I had
Kinsey.
nothing to do with that.
I know, but I'm
Oh.
just saying for me, like
Yes,
I
yes.
enjoyed those
Oh,
moments.
well,
and
I-
you choreographing the Kinsey music videos.
I
and then
loved
going
the-
to Drop Dead Diva with
I
you.
love the Kenzie video. Let's touch on that for a second. It was adorable. It was great. We started the whole tennis shoe with the dress thing.
Yeah.
I'm taking credit for
Yeah,
that.
good.
Kids are still doing it. They're way too old to be doing it, but they're still doing it. And the choreography, the dresses, the lighting, the place we rented in Pittsburgh, it was outstanding. The whole thing was outstanding. I think it has earned over $600,000 so far. And I got my original $27,000 investment back and have not earned another penny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're talking about the good times
I
that
know,
we
but
enjoyed, that we're
so
proud
some
of.
things
That we're
the
proud
good
of.
I'm proud of the video. I'm really
Right.
proud of it. Same thing with Kendall's Wear 'em Out video. I'm really proud of
Yeah, I
that.
was
And
about to say that.
I get my cut out of that
What
all the
else
time.
makes you happy though when you think back of the series and moments during the series?
Oh,
like,
just a lot of the routines. A
lot
lot
of
of
the
the routines,
routines.
putting that
God,
stuff
there
out
were
on
so many
stage.
good ones.
Putting that out on
But then
stage.
you've gotten to do a lot of great stuff like the Drop Dead Diva and the Sharknado and
The
like
Sharknado is viral, by the
I
way.
know,
Going
it's-
to the
I-
Emmys. I took Maddie to the Tonys. Like doing those types of things. But I think most of my joy, because of the show and the success of the show, I get to go around the world and teach still,
Yes.
and I do my thing, and I'm my own boss, and there's
Yeah.
no producer telling
you're
me what to
killing
do
it.
or where to stand or what to wear or anything else, and I get to do my own thing, and I like that. I like being the EP.
I
of
still
my life.
claim that Abby's better when I'm producing her.
That's right. That's right.
I don't know if she agrees with that. But
Well,
a
you
slight
were-
bit, a little bit.
Well, I
Hey.
haven't had a lot of other producers, so I'll have
okay.
to tell you.
Yeah, and I
you
mean,
know.
you worked 8 years, 9 years
Yeah.
That's a long
together.
time.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Any of the other shows that you did didn't go that long, right? You didn't have anything
No,
else go
I mean,
crazy long.
we had Abby's Ultimate that did 2 seasons, and
Which-
that it went to
and
Studio
ex-
Rescue, which should have been
explain-
Abby's Ultimate.
Yeah, explain. Well, this is what I was told about Abby's Ultimate, is that they couldn't sell it to other countries and this and that because once you know who won,
It
it's
doesn't.
like, why do you watch it?
It doesn't repeat as well.
Right.
So
It
Dance
doesn't
Moms
repeat as well.
repeated so well. It was a little more expensive, to produce. It actually did a decent rating, did a good rating,
Yes.
actually. So they decided, let's try something that's not so expensive. And then that's when Studio Rescue.
And
was
I didn't
born.
want to do that. You knew I didn't want to do that
But
show.
it
My
was
mother
so
had just
good.
died. My mom just died.
Yeah.
I was on
right.
I
Yeah.
left her wake
You're right.
at the dinner. They like literally took me by the arm away from family and friends that I was talking to and put me on a plane. I flew to LA and the next morning I was on set.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hated every minute of it. And that sounds ungrateful, but I just think I needed time at that point.
Well, I
just
don't
needed
think
some
you've
time.
ever really had time
No.
based on just the way things played out. Just because of the way they played out, like you didn't have time getting out of prison, you didn't have time recovering from cancer, you didn't have time dealing with your dog dying, your mother dying.
That was one of my worst moments when somebody made me
Yeah.
put a fake dog in the
But
fake something, a ball or something in dog's stroller and wheel it and pretend that it was baby.
I think it was
That
nice
was
though that she was shared.
sick.
It was not that,
Yeah.
but it was nice that we got to see your relationship with your
Yeah,
dog,
yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
something that I
Yeah.
think is good. You know,
Now, before COVID, prior to COVID, we had a meeting,
Mhm.
and you and I, my attorney, you didn't have anybody with you, no. Okay, we went into the network and we had a meeting.
Yeah.
And I think we're free to tell the world what happened in that meeting. I wanted to do Abby's Ultimate again, but a one-off where we would pick a winner each week. Season 9, season 9B, and season 10A. I didn't want to just do one season and then let's stop for a year and think about what we're going to do next. I didn't want that. And I wanted to be an EP, whether it be in title or whether it be an actual vested working EP. And that's what I wanted. What did you want?
I think the same. I think we were on the same page.
When we went together.
And we went together. We were partners, and
And we
worked
went
a
in
lot
and
on
said,
the
"This-"
creative, and everyone seemed like they were on board. It was a great moment, and then COVID.
We came out, we hugged, we kissed,
yeah,
and,
we're like took a picture.
and we took a
Yeah.
picture.
Yeah.
Let's do it again.
Yeah.
Let's do it again. And we were ready to go.
Yeah.
And that was on March 11th.
Mm,
And March 13th, the world shut down.
yeah. Or 20th, something like that. Yeah.
And we thought it was going to a week or two, a couple
Yeah.
weeks. And then the network wanted a 3-month extension for me. I don't know if you were privy to any of that. So they wanted a 3-month extension. Knowing everything that had happened, they had all the footage. They knew my life history for 8 years, for 8 seasons. And they wanted a 3-month extension. And I said no, and I said no, and I said no. And then my attorney said, just sign it if you sell another show to somebody else, because I had all these ideas. You had other ideas you wanted to do. I had other ideas I wanted to do. And he said, even if you sell something to someone else, it's not going to happen in 3 months. So there's pre-production and this and that. Don't worry about it. Sign it. And I did. And then before a month and a half into that, 3 months, they wanted a 6-month extension, And I stupidly said, no, you're tying me down for 6 more months without saying yes to season 9A, 9B, and 10A. I'll sign that contract, but I don't want to just sit around for 6 months under your thumb and not work. And didn't know COVID was going to go on for 2 years.
Yeah.
Should have taken their money.
Yeah.
And I said no. Then they came back with a 3-month development deal. And I was like, what does that even mean? Well, you can go into the office or you can stay at home or whatever. You can develop a new show. And I said, no, but then they're going to get it if I develop it there. And they said, no, if they pass on it, you can take it anywhere. So I thought, oh, okay. So then that was what was in the works.
Yeah.
And then things happened and life happened and it all became null and void. I just didn't want to work with them anymore. They didn't pursue anything else with me. And that was it. And see, when you said something that would be a do-over, I would have went with that season 8 situation.
Wait, what do you mean?
rather than the fight with Kelly. Because I think that, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I think putting it out there, I just think the drinking and everything with her and her marriage and everything, that would have played out into the show way too much. And it would have made her look worse than she looked, just smacking me in the head and grabbing my hair. But I think it's too bad that we didn't get to do. And I know that everybody in the world has things that COVID ruined and destroyed and destroyed lives, and people died, and your relatives and your family. And I know that. And I stayed healthy through it all, thank goodness. And it changed everybody's life. Some for the better. Some people stayed home and became TikTok stars and are famous now and living in mansions because of the YouTube videos they shot. And other people were out of work and their businesses failed because of COVID. Yeah. Restaurants closed, stores closed, things like that. So we had plans. I just want the world to know that we did have plans
100%.
to do season 9 A and B. And I wanted 10A. Yeah. I think you did too. That's what that was kind of the holdout where they weren't ready to go for. And, or at least put us under contract and pay us, even if you don't want to do it, pay our fee. And we were set to go on. Yeah. So I still want to do work. I'm not finished. There's a couple routines that we have that we really want the world to see and done in the right way. And you need older kids to do them.
You also shot in Pittsburgh. You have a bunch of footage in Pittsburgh of you teaching kids in your building.
Yeah, I have a lot of footage. I know that you've been auditioning and scouting, if you would call it, kids all over the country for a reboot. I personally have been scouting kids, actually auditioning them, working with them, because a kid on video, as we said at the very beginning of this conversation with Dance Moms, you saw videos of the kids, but that's not always what can happen. Yeah. In a week, in 2 days, 2 hours each day. You got to have a kid that's quick, that can pick up, and that's emotional about it, not just a robot kid. Some kids have a great brain. They get on stage, they choke. Other kids, not so good in class, not so good picking up. They get on stage and they make it look amazing. Yeah. All those kids are different. So I have a lot of kids in my back pocket from all over the country, actually all over the world. Because the next project that I want to do, I want it to be global. And I want to shoot in Ireland, and I want to shoot it in London, and I want to shoot.
And that's great for streamers, they like that.
There's talented kids all over the world. And they're hungry for it. And they want it so bad. And after my little stint in the airport in Germany for 5 hours waiting on another visa to get back into the UK to shoot Dance Moms, I know all about what I need to shoot in those other countries. I am like the legalese here. I'm the legalese here.
I think I've said this to you before, but
I left a really hot guy on a bus to do that.
Did you?
Yes, I did. Shh, can't say that.
Any names we've said will beep out.
Yes,
okay,
yeah.
Just
except Kendall and Jill.
Yeah.
Right. I've told you before, but I'm like, I feel like, You're in a moment where you've done whatever it takes to survive.
I
And
have.
I've told people that over and over, like how much I admire that and what you've done whatever it takes, right?
Whatever it
And
takes.
you're still killing it. You're traveling the world. People are still showing up. And I always wanted you, when we finished,
Thank you, Disney Plus.
I
Thank you,
wanted
Disney
you to get
Plus.
right. I wanted you to get back into the classroom and to teach. And for a while, you didn't want to do that. And I was like, but that's where you belong,
Well, no, I just felt that physically, as you said, kids don't know their terminology.
Yeah.
Teachers don't use it.
The smart ones,
So,
right?
so
The
it's
not smart ones.
yeah. So it's hard to go in, back into a classroom when
Yeah.
you physically can't demonstrate it. And the kids that I trained in Pittsburgh all those years ago that know exactly what I'm thinking, like they're Gianna's age now.
Mhm.
They're not going to come demonstrate for me around the world. They're either professional working choreographers and investors in Broadway shows,
Yeah.
or they're in another profession. They're doctors. They're this. They're that. Caitlin's a lawyer.
Mhm.
So they're not ready to demonstrate for me. They're not
Yeah.
available. And new young kids that I have that I am training, they can't read my mind. Yeah.
Right.
So that's
But
why
it's
I
where
was
you
a little.
belong.
yeah.
End of the day,
So you don't think I belong on TV at the end of the day?
no, about to say,
You heard
you're
us.
going to have, and I've predicted it, you're going to have a huge TV comeback. It's
Well,
going to be
we'll see.
huge. Mark my word. I may
We'll
not be
see.
a part of it, but it's going to happen.
You never know, right?
We'll see.
The future is still unwritten, right? I mean, but
That's another reality show
the
called The
future is
Hills.
still unwritten. Oh.
Yeah. Or what was that called? What was that called? Not The Hills. The one before The Hills, with the hot guy on it. I love
For the
that show.
Hills.
The real world?
Unwritten. No, it's the song you just
Oh,
sang.
unwritten. The rest is still unwritten.
Yeah, that's the song.
Abby, no one's going to listen to this. Are we boring?
No,
we're
and,
not boring.
for those of you who are still listening, thank you for being on here this long. I think that Bryan coming on has been really fun because this is, a lot of people think of the two of them maybe butting heads. They don't really know all the fun that really did happen. And, it's a difficult situation to be in, being a star of a show and then also being the one in charge of it all and also creating a show where there needs to be drama. It's tough. It's tough.
It is tough, but we laughed a lot.
Yeah.
I
Well, he
laughed
laughed.
at Abby a lot.
He laughs
Well, I know
at me
you laugh
because
at her,
he
yeah.
actually thinks I'm funny.
I do.
I
Well, you're
crack him up.
hysterical.
But I
you just-
can't, I
yeah.
don't crack everybody up, but sometimes people find me very offensive. He thinks I'm hilarious. So that's good. I'll take it.
Well, again, it all comes down to generational times,
Yes. And people, a lot is left on the editing room floor that people never get to see.
Yeah.
And that's a shame. This is going to wrap up this podcast today. My answer is when I am in New York and that kid comes out of the Broadway stage door, their Broadway show comes out, when the kid comes out of the stage door, that's when I'm going to tell them, good job, honey. And I'm going to hug them and I'm going to tell them that I love them and I'm so proud of them. Until then, I'm still the teacher and there's a lot to learn. Thank you so much, Bryan.
Thanks for having me.
Satan. No, I haven't had you yet. Thank you, Satan, for being here today. Thank you so much for listening or watching this podcast. You can subscribe to this podcast. Please like it and give us a 5-star review. That's like 5 judges. That's like a win. That's the top of the pyramid. All right. Until next time, this is Abby Lee Miller with Leave It on the Dance Floor.
Get up, get up.